Okay, I usually let it go to 10 minutes, but we'll just go ahead and start. Why not? Hello? There we go. Let's see here. What do I stream every day? I used to, back when I was a full-timer, but then I got a life. Now I do things like pay my bills. Let's see here. Fine, but manners next time. Listen, I have to pin that comment, all right? I have to pin that comment. Let's go to this. Close that out. Let's see. Do we have any plans for stream today? Let's roll on over to the content suggestions and see what it says. Finish the video so I can make a segment. Oh, man. Oh, you know what? I was supposed to read the rest of Redtron's messages to me. I am a little curious. Why not? Please tell me it's not like an hour long. Good. Is it all down here from... downhill from here? Yeah. Cancer cover. Oh, it's a cover up, everyone. It's all a conspiracy. I don't want to cover anything about that. I don't think that I want to do a fucking... I don't think I want to do the fucking mod. Okay, let's see. Helicopter tree saw. I don't know what this is, Sieg. Let's see what it is. Bro, it can't be real. I wouldn't want to get that close to it. Are you gonna show it to us? Are you gonna show it working? That's all I wanted to see. Wow, the modern marvels of technology. I can't fucking speak today either. Fuck. All right, good link from Sieg there. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not gonna cover the ICJ thing, I don't think. Uh-oh. One second. Do I have my wallet on me? No, I don't have my wallet on me. Okay. Now we're actually gonna fucking start. Okay, we're gonna start streaming now. Okay, I'm 100% focused. Okay, we'll watch the Vosh thing. Actually, no. Let's wait for the ADD medicine to kick in. All right, let's watch Boeing.
Yes, we are emergency. We are depressurized. We do need to return back to. We have 177 passengers. Floor is 18-8.
The distress call from the pilot of Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 to Air Traffic Control. A gaping hole in the side of the aircraft, full fuel tanks, and terrified passengers at risk of being sucked out of the cabin.
Ed, you testified against Boeing at the hearings for the MAX after they were grounded following 2 crashes in 2019. I'm curious, when you saw the video of this plane flying with a big gaping hole in the side, what was your reaction?
This was no surprise, unfortunately. I know it's stunning for passengers, but for those of us who have been monitoring what's been going on for a while with the MAX, it really wasn't a surprise, sadly.
Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs. When you're booking a
Isn't
flight...
the 747 MAX the one that last year there was some sort of like major thing with the 747 MAX? Boeing 737 MAX. Gotta be proud of my countrymen. One of the top streamers here, Alcoholic Finns, going in Thailand and having new prostitute every day, over 22,000 viewers. Man, that's depressing. Fuck. Sorry, we can't start yet because I have to grab something for my girlfriend. One sec. Okay, now we're back. Okay, this plane design, engines, controversies, accidents. I could have swore that the 747 MAX had something like last year that was a big deal, but...
Do you ever consider the actual plane that you're going to be flying on? Or are you just looking at the price and who the airline is? Because in today's video, we're going to take a look at a terrifying incident that happened recently in the USA on a Boeing 737. And this was a plane that was less than 6 weeks old. It had only undertaken a short number of flights, and part of the fuselage actually fell off. So this wasn't an error by the pilot or some sort of software mistake. This was actually part of the plane that fell off during takeoff. And this isn't the first incident that's taken place on these sort of planes.
God, that's got to be
So in
fucking
today's video,
rough.
we'll have a look at exactly what happened. We'll talk about the action that
The most is like insane thing that I've seen come out of this is some guy, one of those Wall Street bets guys. He posted on that subreddit like, "Hey, is it considered insider trading if you are on an airline that fucks up? Is that if you're on an airline that fucks up, is that considered insider trading if you buy Boeing stock right after something like this happens on the plane, and then you sell it after the price goes back up after the inevitable dip in the stock price?" And I think that while ingenious and like evil genius mode shit going on there, that's fucking insane. That isn't insider trading. Don't ask, just do it. Yeah, no, obviously it's not insider trading, but it's fucking insane to have that as your first thought. Like, man, if I was on that plane, bro, I would buy the stock. And I would I would sell it. I'd make a profit off of it. It's like, dude, your first and foremost thought isn't to fucking survive. Do you need help moving the Pikachu? Yeah, just set him right there. Do you see Hunter Biden showing up to a House hearing when they were holding him in contempt of Congress? It was pretty hilarious. I did see that. They were basically saying that he was doing insider trading I'm crossing two different things. They said that he wasn't showing up for his subpoena to Congress, and then he does show up, and they had all these prepared statements, and they continued with the prepared statements, even though... it was very kind of obvious that he was there, sitting right there as they were lambasting him for being not there. That was a pretty good move on his part in terms of just, getting an own on them. I don't know if it's actually like super politically good.
That's been taken against both the airline and these planes as a result of what happened. We'll then talk about who's potentially responsible for this accident, what Boeing's track record has been, and the investigation that has now started in the USA. And then finally today, I'll wrap up with my summary.
Yes, we are emergency. We are depressurized. We do need to return back to. We have 177 passengers.
The distress call from the pilot of Alaska Airlines Flight
Christ, that's
52
loud.
to air traffic control. A gaping hole in the side of the aircraft, full fuel tanks, and terrified passengers at risk of being sucked out of the cabin at 16,000 feet or nearly 5,000 meters up. It was the external door plug which blew off, a door-shaped section of fuselage where a working door could be fitted, but in this case the plug should have been bolted securely shut. It could have been much, much worse, but the two seats next to the hole were empty.
The aircraft was around 16,000 feet and only 10 minutes out from the airport when the door blew. All of a sudden,
Also, sourcing support. Were you the one in Wix Discord arguing with people about all of the... There was some argument that I got pulled into because people were arguing about whether or not there was, sexual attacks during October 7th against Jewish people from Hamas. And for some reason, I was like a big character witness to that. That was PhD, right? But I thought I saw sourcing support in there too, but I'm not sure.
I heard like a big bang, and I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I look up and the oxygen masks were hanging from the ceiling. And then I look to my left and there's this huge chunk, part of the airplane, just like missing.
There was a kid in that row who his shirt was sucked off him and out of the plane, and his mother was holding on to him to make sure he didn't go with it.
The NTSB saying they are grateful the incident occurred at 16,000 feet when passengers were still buckled in for takeoff and 10 minutes from the airport rather than 30,000 feet on cruise control with people potentially walking around the cabin.
Just 20 minutes after takeoff, Flight 1282 made an emergency landing back at Portland International Airport in Oregon.
On Saturday, the Federal Aviation Administration grounded 171 Boeing 737 MAX 9 jetliners for safety checks after the emergency landing of the plane that had been in service for just 8 weeks. The FAA did not rule out further action as a probe began into the potential structural failure.
Alaska Airlines on Sunday canceled 170 flights, affecting nearly 25,000 customers. The plug door of an Alaska Airlines aircraft has been found after it blew off in mid-air last week. It weighs about 60 pounds and covers an optional exit door mainly used by low-cost airlines. It was discovered in a suburban backyard in Portland, Oregon, by a school teacher named Bob. The chair of the National Transportation Safety Board, Jennifer Homendy.
I'm excited to announce that we found the door plug. Woo! Thank you, Bob.
Homendy said the aircraft part was a key missing component to determine why the accident occurred.
This plug should have been inspected at least twice as it went along the final assembly line. So somewhere there's a problem that needs to get fixed.
Aerospace supplier Spirit Aerosystems manufactured and initially installed the fuselage part on the brand new MAX 9, but added that Boeing also has a key role in the usual completion process. Because of a complex two-tier installation system, investigators are expected to examine whether any flaws occurred at Spirit's giant fuselage plant in Wichita, Kansas, or at the Boeing factory outside Seattle.
This is the latest incident involving Boeing's best-selling model launched back in 2015. In October 2018, a 737 MAX operated by Indonesian airline Lion Air crashed shortly after takeoff, killing all 189 on board. 5 months later, in March 2019, an Ethiopian airline 737 MAX was involved in a similar crash, killing all 157 passengers.
I blame the workers for this. Everyone's lazy as fuck these days. All products and services are shit tier in the last 3 years. That's a hell of a statement to make there, buddy. I don't know if I necessarily agree or necessarily disagree, but like obviously it's going to be workers that have to do these inspections, but fuck, dude, I don't know if I like put 100% of the blame on them. Should there not be like an unbelievable amount of, should there not be like an unbelievable, unreal amount of what do you call it? Redundancies. Things that, you know, make it to where this can't happen. Are there people who don't believe that terrorists would sexually assault people during a massacre? That's wild. Listen, people are crazy.
That incident led to all Boeing 737 MAXs being grounded by the US regulator, the Federal Aviation Authority, for the next 20 months. After this latest incident, Alaska Airlines grounded all 65 of their 737 MAX 9 fleet for inspection.
The accident has put Boeing under scrutiny as it awaits certification of its smaller MAX 7 and the larger MAX 10 aircraft. In 2019, global authorities subjected all planes of the Boeing 737 MAX model to a wider grounding after deadly crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia.
This was no surprise, unfortunately. I know it's stunning for passengers, but for those of us who have been monitoring what's been going on for a while with the MAX, it really wasn't a surprise, sadly. The company has struggled mightily with manufacturing, and we've had over 20 production quality defects. You know, it's hard to keep up with all of them. They keep getting reported. We've also had requests for engineering exemptions, you know, after, 2 fatal crashes and 346 people died and a criminal investigation, everything else. The company is still requesting engineering exemptions for flight safety related systems. So this is very concerning. Besides the production quality defects, there was, quality control inspections that were removed. And we're talking thousands of quality control inspections removed on individual airplanes. And this, not just the 737 MAX, but other airplanes, the 777, the 67, and 87. And, it's our understanding that the FAA was unaware of these these quality control inspections that have been in place for many, many years. And it wasn't until a couple whistleblowers reported internally, and this is recent, that these quality control inspections were removed. The union has been fighting back to reinstate these inspections, and they've reinstated many of them, but not all of them. And so there's planes that have left these factories with, in some cases, thousands of inspections. I'm talking individual airplanes now that have left the factory without these inspections. And, this is just, I don't even think the airlines know about this. And I don't think that they know that this occurred. And the FAA certainly didn't know until these whistleblowers provided these reports.
We are the global gold standard for safety around the world, but we have to maintain that standard. We are very, very fortunate here that this didn't end up in something more tragic. We're here investigating an accident, and yes, we've now determined, based on our definition of substantial damage, that it is an accident, not an incident. Fortunately, all passengers deplaned. We are not aware of any serious injuries. We are aware of reports of minor injuries. With that said, I imagine this was a pretty terrifying event. We don't often talk about psychological injury, but I'm sure that occurred here. So on behalf of the National Transportation Safety Board, I would like to extend our deepest sympathies to those that experienced what I imagine was truly terrifying. The cockpit voice recorder was completely overwritten. There is nothing on the cockpit voice recorder. The NTSB has many times talked about the need to increase the time on CVRs from 2 hours to 25 hours, which is consistent with Europe and many other countries. The circuit breaker for the CVR was not pulled. The maintenance team went out to get it, but it was right at about the 2-hour mark, and it was completely overwritten. At 2 hours, it re-records over it, so we have nothing from the CVR.
So what's the summary and conclusion today? Well, I wanted to post this video because an incident like this is quite unusual. A lot of the time when there are incidents with aircrafts, it's down to manual error, somebody actually making a mistake, either the pilot or somebody who's done the checking, or there's a software issue or some other sort of miscommunication that causes a problem. But what we've been talking about in today's video is the failure of the actual structure of the plane itself. And this is actually quite surprising and disturbing because there are a significant number of checks that are undertaken for every single aircraft before they take off. And something like making sure that a plug door has been bolted into place and is secure is a very basic and simple check to undertake. So it's obviously very surprising that part of the plane actually fell off during takeoff. And this incident could have been significantly more serious because if this plane had have reached its maximum altitude of around 35,000 feet, people would have been out of their seats, they wouldn't have had seatbelts on, and there is a real chance that somebody could have got sucked out of this plane, like the sort of thing that you see in horror movies. But also I think what's concerning is that the Boeing 737 doesn't have an exemplary track record. Now I know there are a lot of these planes flying all around the world, and by definition the law of averages says that something is going to go wrong with one of these planes at some point.
Oh, hi, Sushi.
But this seems
Everyone
to
say
be
hi
quite
to
a
Sushi.
fundamental error that's taken place on a relatively new aircraft, less than 2 months old. So you would have imagined that this should have been one of the safest aircraft.
Into the sick
So
boy.
somebody is definitely at fault here, whether it be Boeing or its subcontractor or potentially the airline itself. And we'll have to wait until the investigation is concluded before we find out exactly what's happened. Now, those aircraft were temporarily grounded. Most of them have now been cleared to fly, so they're back in the skies. But as I said right at the beginning of this video, next time you're booking a flight, one of the things you may want to check alongside the price and the airline is what type of aircraft it is, and if it's a Boeing 737, you may want to double check exactly what type it is. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video, which is slightly different to my usual style. Please let me know what you think. If you did like it, then please give me a thumbs up, and thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end, and here's something to put a smile on your face.
Hey, can I ask you a favor? Oh, I was gonna ask you if you could get me a monster. You don't have to. I know. I know. Stairs are a bit. Yeah, but I'm thirsty. Drink water? Will you get me some water? Okay. See, why would you even offer? Or suggest? Yeah, why would you suggest that I get water if you're not willing to get me water? I'm not mentally capable. Okay, now let's make fun of Vosh. Let's see what Vosh has to say. It says the title of this video is it all downhill from here? And the thumbnail made it look like it was the end of Vosh. Wait, let me just make sure that I'm not doing any kind of misinformation. Yeah, the fall of Vaush. The fall of Vaush. Let's see what this is about, guys.
Future of the channel. Just watch Vosh's Future of the Channel video. By the way, I have no idea what this video is. Okay? I streamed for like 10 hours on New Year's Day. I have no idea what I said that my editors could have said this of.
What?
So I don't even know what this is in response to. To sum it up, quote, the woke scolds are largely irrelevant at this point because he hasn't had drama with him. If you think the dynamic right now with woke scolds is comparable to how it was back in 2017, 18, 19, 20, that kind of era, then you just weren't around for that point in time. Totally different environment, you know? Like a ton of stuff has happened back since then. It's incomparable. I think the discourse has shifted significantly from that point. Fewer, if any, debates. He doesn't want to give small right-wing channels his presence. He doesn't want to go on big right-wing channels, Tim Pool, either, because he thinks trying to convert right-wingers is a lost cause. I mean, this is like an unsympathetic way of saying what I said, because I think I characterized and explained my thoughts and feelings on the subject pretty well. The main problem, the main issue is that a lot of people in my community will pretend they care about leftism or socialism or whatever else, but what they really want...
The real problem is that Vosh actually doesn't have any goal. He doesn't have any goal. Like, he doesn't have ideological goals because he's not actually doing anything in furtherance of his ideology. He doesn't have any, like, career goals because he's not doing, money moves to try and get better content going, right? He's not going on to other people's, podcasts and stuff and debating, the stuff that got him his entire career. He's not doing that. So what is Vosh's goals? He's not doing anything ideologically. He's not doing anything career-wise. So yeah, I think that this person actually does have. Even if you don't think that you're going to be converting the person that you're talking to, like, fuck, back when I had high lofty ideals and like goals of what my content was going to be and save all the right wingers from themselves or whatever the fuck I was doing, it wasn't like I was saying, I'm going to convert all of these people for the good of humanity and it's going to be 100% successful or whatever, right? I'm going to be talking to these people. I'm going to be showing the flaws in their arguments, et cetera, so that other people aren't fooled into believing it, right? That was kind of like the whole argument. And you know who I got those arguments from? The main man himself. The main man himself, Vosh. Vosh was the one that said all of that stuff. His goal is to do nothing forever. True. Like he doesn't have any goals. So the downfall of Vosh's channel is inevitable as long as he stays on the current path that he's on, which is to just glide. He's just gliding. And this is his career, right? He's not going to get a political career saying the things that he has said, you know? It's just not gonna fucking happen. Let's see if I can get as many of these guys powered as possible. I can. And then I can make a fuckload of those. Truth is, people like Vosh don't do anything. They're totally irrelevant, except for he's not, because he can wield his entire fucking fan base to do like crazy shit for him and then pretend like he's, oh, I would never tell people, to go harass someone, even though there are literally clips of him telling people to go harass J.K. Rowling or to go and harass, what was her name? ContraPoints and shit like that, you know?
On his content. So in a lot of cases, people will be like, dude, it's actually bad for the left that you won't like do this thing I'm interested in. And in reality, it's just because that's what they want to see. So that bias does exist.
Yeah. And like, even if you were, so like, if I was Vosh and I was trying to maximize for ideological, ideological stuff, maximize how well I'm representing my ideology, I would probably be, engaging with people on a fairly regular basis, trying my best to grow my channel so that more people saw my content, et cetera, right? And if I was trying to maximize for, clout or for career, I would try to reach out to someone and, get more content and get more eyes on my stuff so that more people would see my stuff so I could get more ad revenue. Right. But again, he's not doing any of this. He's not doing any of this. He tells his fan base not to vote. Hold on. If we're going to criticize someone, even if it's someone that I greatly dislike, we should probably do a realistic criticism. And I think Vosh still tells people to vote. He's just kind of wishy-washy on it, I guess. One second. Am I doing this in the most effective way possible? I don't think I am. It's fine. He's going to work with Progress Victory. I want to know, like, one thing that I respect about Destiny's involvement with, like, the Progress Victory and all of the orgs is that he's very transparent with how much money he gives, how much involvement he has. But, like, I don't know what the fuck Vosh does besides show up for that one, like, content creator, like, DC thing with Destiny and Keffels and... Fuck, I can't remember who all was there. It was Destiny, Keffels, and Vosh, and then everybody else was just along for the ride. But yeah, like I don't know what Vosh's involvement is beyond like going there and doing that one event that one time, you know? He breeds electoral apathy, which isn't quite the same, but close enough. But like I feel like unless something major has changed, it very well might have. I just don't know. But as far as I've seen, he's always been He's always been advocating for people to go out and actually vote. I might be wrong on that, but
I'm not opposed to debates. I think I've got 4 sitting in my emails waiting for like a confirmation, potentially in the future. It's just a matter of being selective about them. But yeah,
for what?
Obviously. In reality, it's just because that's what they want to see. So that bias does exist. I'm not opposed to debates. I think I've got 4 sitting in my emails waiting for like a confirmation, potentially in the future.
Ooh.
It's just a matter of being selective about them. But yeah, of course, obviously. No friendly conversations either. He considers them boring and unconstructive. This has been the case for...
But yeah, no. You know what? I'll give that to him. It is super fucking boring to talk to people that already agree with you. It feels so, for lack of a better term, cucked. Like, because you're just like, oh, well, I think this thing. Hey, I also believe this thing. Really? You also believe this thing? Well, that's because it's the right thing. It's just, it's boring to... One second. Let me get rid of these. It's super fucking boring to talk to people that already agree with you, unless it's someone that's big and you can interview them. But like, if it's just like people that you already agree with, like I could have Wick on. I could probably have Wick on 3 days a week, right? To just shoot the shit for 15, 20 minutes. But it wouldn't be good content, right? We're not going to be saying anything super fucking novel or amazing. We're just going to be like, oh, yeah, do you see these crazy lefties on Twitter? Yep. They're crazy, huh? Yep. It's kind of boring. I'll give that to Vosh. It is super fucking boring to just talk with people that already agree with you. Yeah.
Years. I don't just like having people to chat on, like if there's a good reason to. I had Ryan Grimm on a couple days ago. But yeah, like that's been the case for ages. No chat fan Collins. It presents too many issues. He considers his fan base to be uninteresting. This is extremely uncharitable. Are you kidding me? First of all, yeah, the average member of my community is not like a media trained live stream, like in terms of like the ability to. It's not even a matter of you being interesting. It's just a matter of being able to like charismatically engage in a live format. Did you take that one personally? Come on. Also, as I said, I don't know why you're not saying.
But on that one, I won't give it to him because I think that you can. 1 second, take that out. I think that something that you can do is you can, if you're an interesting person, you can make any conversation interesting. Like people like to dog on Joe Rogan for being a complete fucking dunce on everything political. But you know what? Dude is genuinely one of the best conversationalists that you'll ever watch. He can have a conversation with anyone and make that conversation interesting just because he's very good at steering the conversation in interesting directions. Like, even if you don't like Joe Rogan and you're like a super lefty, listen to his conversation with Cornel West. That was a really, really, really interesting conversation. And that conversation made me really like Cornel West. And I really did like Cornel West until fucking, you know, until all of the other stuff.
I don't know why you're not including this part. I said that the last 2 times we tried to do call-in streams, immediately trolls, trolls for debate, trolls for convo. The problem is it's a matter of motivation, and the people most motivated to talk to me on stream from my community are people who are like weirdo, desperate trolls who will do or say anything to maintain a conversation with me. They'll lie about their positions.
Does anybody remember? Does anybody remember a long time ago there was a guy that called into Vosh's stream and had like a good 30-minute debate with him about, like, they were pretending to be a groiper so that they could get in on the conversation because they just wanted to talk to Vosh. And at the very end, they said something, and it completely, he was like, okay, you're trolling right now. This isn't what you actually believe. Does anybody remember that? And can you link it just so I can see it? Because it's really funny.
They will fake like emotional issues. They will do whatever they need to be on stream for longer. This is a real issue. It signals to me that this post is in bad faith, that you wouldn't even include that point when that is by far the main problem, you know? Like, Jesus, man. Wants to continue covering news articles, doing research streams.
1 second. Sieg sent me a picture, a screen cap of Vosh. I'm done voting for the lesser of two evils. Then just fucking don't vote, okay? Because you weren't going to in the first place. Promises are made but rarely kept. U.S. politicians are focused more so on the well-being of international nations rather than their own fucking citizens. Oh my God. When you care so much about the Palestinian rights that you help the candidate with even worse policy positions on Palestinians when? You're correct. Wait, hold on. Let me do my Vosh. You're correct, of course. But right now, the Biden administration is behaving so monstrously that I feel there's basically no value in pushing this line. No amount of technically correct snark will convince people to go out and vote for a squirrel molester to beat a dog rapist. Okay, maybe he is. Okay. If he's going full anti-electoralism, I welcome the debates that come this election season. That's all I'll say.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do news and I want to do more research streams. Sure. After viewing this video, I'm not super optimistic about the future of this channel. This is exactly what I mean. This is why you can't listen to your... well, this person is in my community. This person is a single rabble-rouser. But people have been doing this like, bro, the channel's dead for like literal years at this point. You can't just take the advice from people who want to see a specific kind of content because they obviously don't know what you know. This is an election year. Biden's chances are slightly weaker due to the Israel shit, and the Republicans have reaffirmed their desire to be bigoted, genocidal monsters. This is the time to grow the channel, bring in as many people as possible. What is... Huh? Vosh stated he wants to be a Big Ten channel, but he hasn't addressed his sub count in the past year. Hasn't addressed his sub count in the past year. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of the fact that I was a CEO speaking to a shareholder meeting. What the f do you mean? First of all, it's not like a secret my subs grow slowly. I get a bunch of subs, but I lose a bunch of subs. I'm always getting, you know, I take a lot of heat. What do you want from me? Second of all, what parasocial bullshit is this? What the addressed his sub count? Oh yeah, I'm pointing up at a big like stonks chart, quarterly projections. Weird. Why wouldn't you?
Because your fan base probably wants you to succeed so that you continue making content into the future, Vosh. People want the content to flow. People want the content to flow. And you are cucking the content. There we go. Look at that, guys. The bus commenceth.
You just say like his sub count growth.
I've yet to hear anyone make a real argument. Well, what they'll say is that he should be doing what I think it was H.W. Bush or Reagan. I can never fucking remember which one. They withheld funding to Israel or withheld weapons to Israel, and got them to stop bombing Gaza at some point. So that's what they'll point towards. Why isn't Biden forcing them to stop fighting? As if he actually has the power to do that. That's what they'll say. How do I know this? Because my brother says it.
Growth has flagged. That's true.
This shit is great.
Recognizes Miss Mace from South Carolina.
Okay, hold on. Let's finish one thing at a time,
true statement.
guys.
You know, why say it like this? It's weird. 2 to 4K a month, much lower than the other creators in the space. What other creators in the space? Nor does he set any goals for growth in the next year. What? This was just a clip from a 10-hour New Year's video. It didn't need to contain a full like market breakdown, like 2-hour goal sheet. What are you talking about? My yearly project. I apologize that I didn't fit those in to the big stream that I did. You know,
this is
YouTube
boring.
Shorts and
Okay,
TikTok
we'll
are
speed
huge
it
now,
up.
but he
All
doesn't
right, I know
discuss
he's very
whether or not he wants
sleepy.
to try to get into that space. It's just a clip from a stream. Okay, for people who have watched that video, because I don't remember the section that it's talking about, do I give the impression in that video that I'm delivering like a cohesive 100% thorough, like this is every single pointer for the future? Because my impression, like my memory of it, was that I was saying like, oh yeah, here's like a direction I want to go in. I didn't realize that by not explicitly stating that I wanted more subs, that was me indicating I didn't care about getting more subs. Like, why would I say that? Isn't that obvious? Like, what? Like, you know, forgot to mention the most important part. I didn't mention I want to keep breathing either, you know? He said the woke school types are irrelevant, but people like FD Signifier have already surpassed Vosh's sub count. FD Signifier isn't a woke... Oh, they don't know what I mean. FD Signifier isn't a woke scold type. That's not what I mean. The woke scold, that whole dynamic was like a broader community issue with regards to performative hypersensitivity. FD Signifier isn't exactly on good terms with the channel, but he's just a popular video essayist. If anything, like there are other and possibly worse ideological biases that FD Signifier has. But I wouldn't call him a woke scold, you know? That's not that I don't think I've ever.
That's
called
not
him
my
that.
style.
And Noah Samson's almost there too. I haven't even heard Noah Samson's name in like a year. I don't know. I'm sorry. Your video essayist channels that don't have to deal with the constant crushing weight of the drama that I do will probably see more reliable sub growth. That's not necessarily indicative of influence. I have a ridiculously large amount of influence relative to my sub count because my view count is so high. 10 million views a month between my two channels isn't something to like, you know, discount entirely. And no video essayist can compete with that. That means a higher density of attention for the people who watch my content. That means they're more engaged. That means the total number of hours of content they watch is higher. It means they're more likely to sort of spread that influence through their other social channels. You know, it's not like, not to say that, you know, the sub growth thing isn't an issue or whatever. I'm just like, the channel's hardly dead. Jesus. Got like, didn't I get like 12,000 people watching my live stream 3 days ago? And then it was like 11,000 the day after that? I mean, you know, like, I don't feel irrelevant. Vosh doesn't treat the growth of his channel with any urgency. What? Nor does he develop plans to play the algorithm and get new audience members. If I had plans to play the algorithm, why would I tell them to? What? Do you think I don't talk to my editors? What do you mean? What are you talking about? He also eschews what made him popular in the first place, debates. Debates aren't what made me pop. I can see where my subs come from. Debates get the most views consistently, but those actually aren't what have the largest and most outsized contributions to my sub count. They tend to be either like, sometimes the algorithm just favors a video, you know, sometimes that does happen. But in many cases, it's actually about critical and specific coverage of certain issues, either in regards to news coverage or like an ideological thing, like about the alt-right or dog whistling or whatever. The debate videos often get larger view counts because people re-watch them. Not necessarily because they bring in more subs. Also, by the way, there are plenty of debates on my channel that don't have anywhere near as many views as the ones that people typically think of, you know, Charlie Kirk or whatever. Well, that's not even on my channel. And that's because the view count of a debate is proportional to its quality. Do you know how hard it is to find quality debates? I've talked about this. He's even given up on de-radicalization despite playing it up so much in the past. No. I've said that as the right becomes more openly anti-empiricist, it's more difficult to pull people over in spaces where that anti-empiricism is at its most prominent and pronounced. What's more, there are communities that are so deliberately irrational that I genuinely don't know if the people watching even care that they're wrong. A good example would be, you know what? Since this person, hold on, not to dox their comment history, we'll see. Oh, no, they're not. Okay, then. Since this person is spiritually a Destiny viewer, I'll just say a good example that I can think of is
oh my God. Oh man, it's rent-free. It's rent-free, dude. Elon banned the scroll, but Jackson bitched. Why, man, why wasn't Jackson banned, dude? Fuck.
Fuentes. This is, in terms of like content and engagement and entertainment, an enormously high profile get, and it probably got a ton of views. However, and I could be wrong, I certainly don't have his data or analytics or whatever, the impression I got from the fallout from that, from what glimpses of it I caught, you know, certainly I have plenty of mutuals with Destiny, is that it was largely a shit show, and that the kind of people who watch Fresh and Fit and Nick Fuentes.
I thought that Destiny's debate on that was whichever side that you leaned on in the first place, you were going to stick with that person. I don't think anyone won or lost it because both sides, like Nick Fuentes, he's a very, very, very good rhetorician. He's very good at like making his case seem reasonable, right? But only if you are primed to believe the sorts of things that he believes, right? So when it comes to, you know, Bush did 9/11 or whatever the fuck, or the Jews did 9/11 in his case, I guess. When you get into that, like at that point, yeah, you're going to you're going to have someone who is, one second, click, 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 and then take that away. Yeah, at that point, you're almost certainly going to have, you know, them believe whatever they were going to believe in the first place. Destiny lost the red pill debates once his wife left him in the cringiest way. Well, they said that that she would leave him for someone who was bigger, stronger, more wealthy, etc. And instead she left him for someone who was weaker, girlier, and, you know, not any of the things that they would respect in a man, you know? So they weren't exactly right. They weren't necessarily wrong, but they also weren't right. So
Fuentes aren't the kind of people who are going to be swayed positively by an accurate, like, delivery of immigration statistics and the lack of overrepresentation of Jewish people in American government. You know, some environments are much, much harder to crack. I think de-radicalization efforts are better focused in the broader conservative space, rather than the kinds of conservative spaces that pride themselves on that kind of openly irrational online debate. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, to put it like this way, right? If ever there was a group of conservatives who were not likely to be swayed by hearing a good idea, the kinds who watch Alex Jones are probably up there, right? There are community spaces where that isn't necessarily the case. Tim Pool, for example, a couple years ago, actually did have an audience pretty susceptible to different ideas. But Tim Pool a couple years ago and Tim Pool now are two very different communities, you know? Since then, Tim Pool has abandoned the adrift liberal bullshit and just says just any old, whatever old shit, you know? And as a consequence of that, there seems to be a lot more ideological conformity in the Tim Pool community, which means that your likelihood of moving any individual there, I think, isn't quite as high, you know? My guess is that Destiny's growth, which has been very impressive, and he's worked very hard at it. No snideness. Mother travels more for this shit than I ever could. My guess is that his growth has less to do with de-radicalization in these spaces and more to do with his galvanization of the left, meaning that liberal, centrist, and reactionary elements of the communities that he argues with and against are more likely to find him, even if they disagree with him, entertaining. You know, a lot of people who are in the center or the right, or hell, even some like more moderate liberals, might find me entertaining just for comedy reasons, but also kind of insufferable because I'm so partisan. You know, I'm so polarized. Destiny's extremely
well, at least
polarizing,
he
but he's not
admits
partisan
it.
in the way that I am.
Can we
So
give
it's
him
possible,
that?
that he can engage with those communities and have a kind of secondary audience of people who don't really, you know, like him, but they like his moxie. That's a critical difference, you know? For my community at this point, I'm willing to bet, for the most part, people who watch
Another thing is, like, Destiny's whole thing is he's going to give what is the strongest case for something, and it's going to be the strongest case both factually and logically. But Vosh also just does not care about that whatsoever. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. There. And then 1, 2, 3. There.
me, like me. Destiny has a much larger community at this point, and I think that's because he's able to maintain the interest of people who don't necessarily like him. I'm just guessing from afar, but that's my impression based on what I know. Does that make sense? How are you insufferable and too partisan? They're criticisms that I've heard. Yeah, I don't self-refer as an anarchist that much anymore. I mean, I do like the idea of posing a big tent.
Hold on, the cats are being bad. Gotta grab them. Oy. Even the cat's lost it listening to this video. Yeah.
But I'm not going to hide being a
Aren't you the one that fucking suggested this? Why are you complaining? Who posted it? Oh, no, it was Shadowrun.
Socialist. And I mean, you know, again, I've taken a look at my numbers in the back room, you know, in the back rooms, in the back shots, whatever word I meant to say. And I gain a lot of subs, you know. I think the last time I checked, even if my daily average in getting subs was in the ballpark of like 100 to 150 subs per, like in a day, which is not a lot, by the way, the actual number of subs that I get, like just gained subs, is more in the ballpark of, I think it was like 800 to 1,000 the day that I checked it. The problem is I lose a lot of subs every day. People get upset with me. People get like bullied into not watching me because they hear that I'm a rapist, bistio, sexual, pedophile, whatever. That kind of thing, you know. They're weak, yes, so they leave. Unlike you guys who are strong because you stay in spite of all those true things, of course. It leads to a net narrow gain, but you know, it's better than being dead in the water, I guess. Ultimately, it's Vosh's channel. He can do what he wants, but I'd hope you try to expand and reach new people. I do. Don't worry, I want to. Given this is an election year with potentially huge ramifications, trust me, I know. The woke scolds are largely relevant at this point because he has drama. It's because the woke scolds won. The big guy just got sick of the unwarranted attacks and settled down. What happened to any of us? This isn't true. I never conceded anything to those communities. The communities that I would call woke scolds have dashed themselves against the impenetrable rock wall that is my channel at all. Like I got so much heat with the like Professor Flowers stuff, and I didn't back an inch off of it, like at all. You know, nothing about my behavior changed. I don't see how they won. I can't remember the last time he spoke about proper socialism. How do I make you people happy? Really? He's more or less set himself up as a left-leaning liberal. Wait, how can you simultaneously want me to do a big tent, but also say that I need to speak more about proper socialism? Wouldn't the big tent solution to be to do what I have been doing, which is to engage with socialist critique and also promote it in a kind of like market socialist worker democracy kind of way? You know, like, isn't that like, I mean, if we're exclusively considering me like a super far left, like socialist, whatever, there are only so many socialist channels. There's not very far up to go if you only engage with politics from that framework, right? I feel like I talk about socialism plenty. Also, how much can I say about socialism? It doesn't exist anywhere in the world today. You know, giving you guys updates on like cold fusion as well. Look, it'd be great if it happens, buddy. All right, I'll give you socialist critique, but I do that all the time. What's really disappointing is the lack of socialism compared to the old days. Look, you can do the big tent.
Is he only getting 100 subs per day? Wait, hold on. What is the not stream elements? Not Twitch tracker. Social Blade. Social Blade Vosh. Is he really only getting 100 subs per day? Oh, man. That is really rough. Plus 134. That's actually incredible. He was gaining 11,000 per month in February of 22. 12,000 in September. Oh, wait, hold on. This is February of 2021. What happened between February of 2022 and March of 2022? What the fuck happened there, dude? Holy shit. Bro, that's pretty rough. Estimated monthly earnings, 1.4K to 23K. He's probably on the lower end on that because of monetization, and he doesn't do sponsorship deals. Okay.
Approach, or you can do like 100% like leftist theory. You can. Lack of ambition. I'd like to believe I would do differently given such a position. How this mighty warrior fell. I would, unlike Vosh, who fell due to lack of ambition, I would have the ambition to talk about socialism on a live stream. What are we even talking about? What does it mean? What does this mean?
Take that much ambition to
whoops,
just
I'm showing
stream.
removed comments. Why was this one removed? Oh, for being parted. He burned the bridge with Deepak. No, I didn't. I correctly described a time that he, completely out of pocket, suggested that my more than $250,000 fundraised for Palestinian people went to Hamas. I later said, yeah, Deepak did that, and he did. And then he made a video saying it didn't happen when there's video footage of him saying it. That's not me burning a bridge. I'm sorry. Oh, wait, how many deleted comments am I going to go through here? Hold on. There is an anti-retard rule in place in Vosh. It's very important, so it's not surprising. I think he's having issues with his niche at the moment, which is fine. I like what I do. Debate Bro isn't a worthwhile niche in streaming anymore. That is true. More structured. I think he should introduce more structure, different form of content that can complement streams, like a regular podcast or something. But I sincerely doubt he go. That's actually not too bad of an idea. Yeah, having some kind of structured component. I know Vosh said he'd never go with scripted content, but he's good at it, and I feel like his content debates have gotten a bit stale of late. I mean, the debates are going to get stale because like the flavor of cards, like this is just a problem with that kind of content.
I think that debate content is a little bit stale because holy fuck, you hear the same art. Like people are going to wheel out. It used to be like my biggest trigger, just hearing people say the same fucking talking points that they heard on Fox News, right? Just like pithy little nothing statements of either virtue signals. It's either going to be like some sort of virtue signal about how, you know, how good of a lefty they are if it's a lefty. And then if it's a conservative, it's going to be some virtue signal about how, you know, they either do support Trump or they don't support Trump. Okay. Or it'll be some like weird conspiracy shit. And then like my brain shuts off because I do not care.
I'm fine with my content though. I think it's good. How many gigantic
listen,
rants have we done, huh?
Listen, I'm talking about conservatives. If I want to talk about lefties, yeah, they're also going to do that. But it's instead of, you know, getting their talking points from Fox News, they get it from, what do you call it? Like Twitter, shit like that.
We have done those before, actually. Did you forget the plans for Progressive Victory? That's going to be gearing up in a big way. You're completely right. He didn't mention them. How successful. He barely mentions PV at all. He just sends his views. What? I can never win.
Well, you probably should.
I've promoted and worked with them harder than I've ever promoted with or worked with anything. What do you want from me?
But I don't know. I don't watch his content, so I don't know if he actually does or doesn't.
Vosh is lazy. Oh, wait, that's true. He's made it now. He has no interest in trying harder to get further. It's too bad, really, because he's really talented. Aw, thanks. He doesn't talk about PV enough. Literally a pin post in the subreddits from PV. Is it right now? Oh, shit, no kidding. Yeah, an older one. But we'll be replacing it with a newer one soon. We got some stuff to do. We got some business to take care of, folks. I guess now this is like a future of the channel thing. You know what the real God's honest truth is? Future of the blank whatevers are for people who do scripted, structured content. The most you can go for as a live streamer is vibes. You have no idea where any individual stream or day or week will take you. The most important thing is to keep your brain screwed on proper and have a good attitude. And also, as much as people try to pull you
and
away
have
from it,
fun.
The main reason that I'm successful and also a multi-billionaire now is because of the authenticity. It's the number one thing that I sell more than anything else, more so than my ability to speak or rhetoric or blah blah or whatever else. It's because I come across as a pretty like down-to-earth, straightforward person who like says what he means. I don't come across very conniving, I don't feel. And I think that sells pretty well. And what people don't understand when they say like, you know, you should stick to this or you should do that is that this is very much like a death by 1,000 paper cuts thing. There are some things that you can do in the name of like orderliness and discipline that actually do make the content better, but sometimes people don't understand how much a sincere interest in doing something is necessary in doing it correctly. When it comes to live streaming, if I could do multiple takes, then sure, you know, but I can't. I am here, you know? Whatever the case may be, the channel's doing great. I'm very optimistic about the future. I've been hearing this, you're washed, your channel's dead, every single year since 2020. Since mid-2021, because we got a big sub boost throughout the election and up to January 6th and a bit after. So since mid-2021, so now it's been nearly 3 years.
I could probably be pushed on this pretty easy. He's conniving in some ways, but honestly, I think that most of his opinions are honest. I really do think that they are, which is scary in its own right. You know, it's not like it's a good thing that the positions that he holds are actually his positions because they're fucking insane, you know? So.
Washed. It's over, blah, 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 you know, whatever. I just don't think people have a good assessment of these things from their perspective as a viewer who can, you know, who can only watch the stream in between, intermittently smearing their own face with feces. It's just they can't see what's going on.
Okay, done with Vosh. Okay, now you linked me something else. Let's see what this is. Is this Hunter Biden giga chatting?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Comer. First of all, my first question is, who bribed Hunter Biden to be here today? That's my first question. Second question.
Hey, Dad, can I go to the store and get a strawberry pop? I don't know. Go ask your mama. I recommend that you overcome your mother. You have your mother's mindset and emotions because when you were a kid and your father left, it was too much for you to handle her. And as you know, you become like whomever you are angry at. And so you are a passionate person. You need to forgive her. You need to forgive her.
Okay, I can't can't do it.
The epitome of white privilege coming into the Oversight Committee, spitting in our...
Wait, say it
The chair
again.
recognizes Ms. Mays from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Comer. First of all, my first
Comer.
question is who bribed Hunter Biden to be here today? That's my first question. Second question,
They're
you
so
are the
mad.
epitome of white privilege.
They're so mad because they all prepared a fuckload of statements for this. They're mad because they prepared all these statements and now they look really fucking silly because all their statements were on the assumption that he wasn't going to show up. They're just so mad about it.
Privilege coming into the Oversight Committee, spitting in our face, ignoring a congressional subpoena to be deposed. What are you afraid of? You have no balls to come up here and...
Mr. Chairman, point of inquiry.
Mr. Chairman,
If
The ladies recognize-
if the gentlelady wants to hear from Hunter Biden, we can hear from him right now, Mr. Chairman. Let's take a vote and hear from Hunter Biden. What are you afraid of?
Hold on. Order.
Are women allowed to speak in here? Oh my gosh, you don't even care about that. Like they're doing the woke scold tactic. Like they're doing woke scold tactics, like 100%, right?
women allowed to speak in here or no? Are women allowed to speak in here or no? Did you keep interrupting me?
I'll interrupt the
You keep
chairman. I don't
interrupting.
know that he's a lady.
I think that Hunter Biden should be arrested right here, right now, and go straight to jail. Our nation is founded on the rule of law.
Come on.
And the premise that the law applies equally to everyone, no matter what your last
Point of order, Mr.
What's up? Yeah, no, she does that. Yeah, cat's behind the screen.
Chairman, point of
it
order.
doesn't matter who you are.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Biggs over here.
Donald Trump Jr.
Biggs over here.
State your point, Mr. Biggs.
Yeah, my point of order is this. Are we going to continue on with this blatant interruption? This is absurd and inappropriate. I intend to give my statement. I don't intend to have anybody interrupted. I'm not going to interrupt your statements. I think you should have decorum and courtesy and don't act like a bunch of nimrods.
You just interrupted a woman.
And that's five.
I got
Bro,
permission.
what is
to
going
everyone.
on? Hold on,
Hey,
I gotta
Mr.
listen
Chairman.
to this again.
I think
I gotta see who's talking.
that
What
Hunter
the
Biden
hell
should
is
be
going
arrested
on
right
here?
right now, and go straight to jail. Our nation is founded on the rule of
Come
law.
on, come
And
on.
the premise
Come
that the
on.
law applies equally to everyone, no matter what your last.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
God, she looks like she sounds like that. I didn't even look at the video. I was just listening, and I imagined this exact face. I've never heard of this woman before in my entire life, but I knew exactly what she looked like based off of her voice. Excuse me? Yeah,
Point of
shut the
order.
fuck
No
up.
matter who you are.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Biggs over here.
Donald Trump Jr.
Biggs over here.
State your point, Mr. Biggs.
Yeah, my point of order is this. Are we going to continue on with this blatant interruption? This is absurd and inappropriate. I intend to give my statement. I don't intend to have anybody interrupted. I'm not going to interrupt your statements. I think you should have decorum and courtesy and don't act like a bunch of
Nimrod.
You just interrupted a woman.
And that's five.
I got permission.
Can we agree? Everyone has
Mr.
5
Chairman,
minutes. Can we agree?
Point of order again. The
You're goddamn right I am.
That I interrupted was absolutely
false. Damn right
That's
I am, Bones.
typical of the gentleman who spoke it. I got permission to speak from the chairman. I spoke. I was interrupted yet again by the gentleman who doesn't choose to go through the chair and follow proper order. I encourage us. I think if we're going to have...
Listen, what is going on right here is like, you know, he might be right, he might be wrong, but like the fact that we should have decorum, he's right on that, you know. We should have decorum, all that shit. But like, holy shit, dude. Holy shit. I 1,000,000% understand why people hate like civility politics, because it sounds so cucked. Excuse me, this man just interrupted me, and I would like a point of order to point out that this man just interrupted me. Bro, this is cucked.
Any respect at all we need to have proper decorum.
Well,
Yield
well
back.
said. Well said.
I'd like to finish.
The rules are everyone's going to be recognized for 5 minutes. Anyone that wants to be recognized will be recognized for 5 minutes. Ms. Mace has 4 minutes and 13 seconds left. Chair recognizes Ms. Mace.
It does not matter who you are, where you come from, or who your father is, or your last name. Yes, I'm looking at you, Hunter Biden, as I'm speaking to you. You are
I'm
not
looking at
above the
you,
law
Hunter Biden.
At all. The facts in this case are crystal clear.
God, I want like, oh God, the cat keeps on walking right in front of the screen. Okay, where's the transcript? Show transcript. Let's make it skip to where we're at. Like I want like an anime villain voice for this, you know?
Chair recognizes Ms. Mace.
It does not matter who you are, where you come from, or who your father is, or your last name. Yes, I'm looking at you, Hunter Biden, as I'm speaking to you. You are not.
It's like, it does not matter who you are, where you come from, or who your father is, or your, yes, I'm looking at you, Hunter Biden, as I'm speaking to you. You are not above the law. Like, can you just imagine Frieza reading this, or like saying this shit?
Not above
You're
the
not
law
above the
at
law.
all.
I am
the facts
law.
in this case are crystal clear. This committee used and issued a lawful subpoena to Hunter Biden. A critical witness.
Point of order.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all,
Oh,
James
yeah.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whisper.
I can't even watch it. It's too cringe. I can't even watch it. It's too cringe.
In this committee's investigation into Biden family corruption. Hunter Biden and his lawyers did not claim privilege of any kind because clearly he has none. They didn't contest the legitimacy of our reasons for issuing the subpoena, no reasons, because they clearly are legitimate. And yet he refused to comply. Trump's family members, Don Trump Jr., he did not defy a congressional subpoena. He showed up multiple times for multiple depositions for several hours. In doing so, you know, Hunter Biden broke the law. He did so deliberately. You did so flagrantly. You showed up on the Hill, on the Senate side, the day of that congressional subpoena to defy it and spit in the face of this committee. That's what you did. The question the American people are asking us is, what is Hunter Biden so afraid of? Why can't you show up for a congressional deposition? You're here for a political stunt. This is just a PR stunt to you. This is just a game that you are playing with the American people. You're playing with the truth. Hunter Biden wasn't afraid to sell access to Joe Biden to the highest bidder when he was in elected office. He wasn't afraid to trade on the Biden brand, peddle influence, and share those ill-gotten gains with members of his family, including Joe Biden. He wasn't afraid to compromise the integrity of the presidency and vice presidency by involving Joe Biden in shady business deals with our foreign adversaries. But Hunter Biden, you were too afraid to show up for a deposition. And you still can't today. I believe that Hunter Biden should be held completely in contempt.
She's trying to change what she wrote down, assuming that he wasn't going to be there, but she keeps on messing up. Listen to this.
Including Joe Biden. He wasn't afraid to compromise the integrity of the presidency and vice presidency by involving Joe Biden in shady business deals with our foreign adversaries. But Hunter Biden, you were too afraid to show up for a deposition. And you still can't today.
You still can't today. He's sitting like 30 feet away from her. He keeps like they were taken very, very, very hard off guard on this one, guys.
I believe that Hunter Biden should be held
Let's just move
completely
past
in
that one.
contempt. I think he should be hauled off to jail right now, because it wasn't long ago, too, my friends on the other side of the aisle, that you also believed in the power of a congressional subpoena. Not long ago at all. You believed in holding those who refused to comply with a congressional subpoena accountable. And I stood with each and every one of you. I am the only member in this room today who has held a member of my own party in contempt of Congress for not showing up for a subpoena. And I see nothing but complete hypocrisy on the other side of the aisle. The ranking member of this committee even so eloquently put it, the lesson is, please tell your children out there in America, if you get a subpoena to go before Congress, go. You have a legal responsibility to do so. So the hypocrisy is stunning. What are we to tell our children today? There's nothing the other side can say with a straight face. As the only member of this committee to vote to hold a member of contempt of my own party, let me be clear, this should not be a partisan issue. If Congress issues a subpoena, you show up, period. This is not a responsibility we take lightly. It brings no joy for us to do this, but the president's son broke the law and must be held accountable in the same way anybody else would. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do so. And my last message to you, Hunter Biden, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Will the gentlelady yield for a question? Will the gentlelady yield? Will my friend yield from South Carolina?
Sure. Will my friend yield?
I do want to commend
Carolina?
the gentlelady who was the only Republican who stood up and voted to hold in contempt the Republican members of the House who blatantly and categorically refused to comply with subpoenas that came from the bipartisan January 6th committee. I would like to ask my friend, Ms. Mace from South Carolina, whether she's aware of all the case law which says that the committee has to engage in good faith interaction with the witnesses they've called, and they're supposed to arrive at a solution. And what do you think about the fact that the chairman on multiple occasions gave this witness the opportunity to come before the full committee, and he agreed to that?
We issued a congressional subpoena, and I know with your constitutional law background, you know exactly what that means, and he should have showed up. And because of your vote and because of your statements, you should be voting to hold this man in contempt of Congress today, right now, if you're going to be consistent on your own policies and your own words.
Mad because bad. Okay. Is this what I hear when I listen to her? No, I don't hear that, but I want to hear that. Okay? This is so soy? Yeah, it's very soy. The soyest, actually.
Let's get the latest from inside the courtroom now with CNN's Paula Reed. She's live outside the courthouse for us. Paula, a bit of a surprise that the judge would allow Donald Trump to address the court.
Nothing is surprising here, Boris, but things certainly taking a turn in the last few minutes. We know yesterday there were negotiations we had learned between the Trump team and the judge here about possibly allowing Trump to participate in closing arguments. Now, this would be highly unusual. Closing arguments are an opportunity for lawyers to summarize their case. The Trump team would not agree to some restrictions the judge laid out, insisting that Trump stick to the material and relevant information and not attack the district attorney or the judge. So things had been business as usual.
But he
here.
couldn't.
Closing arguments went forward. Trump's attorney, Chris Kise, summarized his argument. Other attorneys...
Like, it's so hard to have, like, any sympathy whatsoever when there are so clearly laid out things like, hey, don't do this. You know it's a bad thing. It's not just because we want to fuck with you, but, like, this is clearly something that you're not supposed to do. You know, like, threaten the people who are the judges on your case. You're probably just not supposed to do that, you know? You're just probably not supposed to do that. And it seems like a pretty reasonable request. One that is wholly ignored the entire time he's on trial. If he cares so little about his own freedom, or actually this one couldn't even send him to jail. If he has so little regard for his own like business in New York, like why should we care about any of this? He is the one, okay? I'm going to remind you, he is the one that is doing this to himself.
got up to summarize theirs, but then Chris Kise got up just a few moments ago and asked if former President Trump could address the court. And he then launched into what our colleagues who were inside described as a monologue, telling the court, quote, "The facts are the financial statements are perfect. There are no witnesses against us. The banks got all their money paid back. There were great loans. This was a political witch hunt. That is really how Trump and his lawyers have framed this entire case, as a politically motivated and manufactured allegation. Now, Trump says, when you say don't go outside of these things, we have a situation where I am an innocent man. So he's referring to the restrictions that the judge tried to put on any participation that he would have. He said, quote, I'm being persecuted by somebody running for office, referring to the district attorney who did promise to investigate Trump when she ran for office. He's insisting that I have to go outside of these bounds. So here, he's making his case to the court, but also arguing with the judge and any restrictions the judge wanted to put on him. Now, I want to bring in our colleague, Kara Scannell, who is right next to me. Kara was inside the court earlier for oral arguments. Now, Kara, you called it. You knew that Trump couldn't get through the day without participating in some way. I mean, is this surprising?
You know, nothing in this trial has been surprising. Everything that we think is going to happen according to certain courts changes, and it doesn't happen. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the judge allowed Trump to speak, because part of the reasoning he gave initially of why he would allow Trump to speak is he said he had more on the line in this case than anyone else. And since there is no jury, he said it was only fair to let Trump speak. But of course, as you just laid out, Trump went beyond the contours of what the judge wanted to be permissible here by talking about a witch hunt, by making this a political case and not arguing just the facts in the case. You know, but for closing arguments, for the bulk of it, they were mostly delivered by Chris Kice, his attorney, and he did stick to the facts in the case. And he went through the evidence that was presented, saying to the judge that the Attorney General's office did not present any witnesses who testified that there was fraud here. And that has been a core, consistent theme of the defense, that there was no banker who said they would have done anything differently if they had gotten different financial statements. So saying that the AG didn't meet their burden and didn't bring this case. Now, part of Kice's closing argument, he said, this entire case is a manufactured claim to serve a political agenda. It has always been press releases and posturing, but no proof at all. The Attorney General is seeking to strip them, according to the papers, of everything. No one from the marketplace showed up and said there was a problem. So that, again, that's the core of this argument here, that they didn't have the witnesses testifying. Now, the judge has already ruled in this case that the financial statements were fraudulent, that the values of some of these properties were inflated, you know, that the value of Trump's triplex apartment in Manhattan was inflated. So he's already made a number of these determinations. And even in a ruling last month, he said that some of the witnesses that Trump's team put on, he said, were just not credible. So he's already laid down the contours of what he thinks of this evidence in the case. But of course, everyone gets their shot today to try to convince him a little bit more. We also heard from Alina Habba, another one of the attorneys representing Trump and some of the co-defendants in this case. She made a point of saying that there was no fraud. Both she and Kice focused a lot on Michael Cohen, who was the Attorney General's one of their witnesses, the one witness who testified that he was told indirectly by...
No, I'm not going to watch the South Africa hearing, because I don't think it's going to be good content. I'm probably going to listen to it while I'm at work. Like, if I'm completely honest, I just don't think it's going to be content that anyone's going to want to hear, you know?
By Trump to boost the values of these properties, along with Alan Weisberg, the former CFO. And this investigation started when Michael Cohen testified before Congress in 2019. The Attorney General's office has been clear about that. So they were focusing on his credibility, because during Cohen's testimony, initially he said Trump directed him, then he walked it back and said it wasn't a directive, that it was a known an inference that Trump gives. Now, Trump's sons are also on trial here. Eric Trump was in the courtroom today, along with Trump advisor Boris Epshteyn. He was sitting beside him. Their attorneys also had a quick shot at the end, and they also said that there was no evidence against their clients.
So, you know, it's a legal proceeding, very much a political event. They started their argument, this is a politically motivated case, and then Trump arguing at the very end the same thing. Boris, I'm going to toss it back to you, because I think we were expecting Trump to address the cameras after that monologue.
Yeah, and as we understand it, he will give a public...
Jesus Christ. That is an insane statement. Okay, no. I don't agree. That's fucking crazy. No.
So at some point, once this wraps up, he's going to head down to a Trump property near Wall Street to make those remarks again at 2:30. We'll, of course, bring them to you as they happen.
All right, and certainly we'll be awaiting much more ahead. A lot of interesting stuff already happening there, as we heard from Kara. She was in the courtroom. I want to bring in CNN senior political analyst Gloria Borger and CNN legal analyst Carrie Cordero. we see this carry Trump, even when he is facing legal liability, he sees political opportunity. He certainly took it in that kind of monologue that he gave in court. What do you think of what he said and what you've heard so far today?
Well, it's interesting that the judge did apparently allow him to have some statement. His attorney gave the actual closing argument, which was quite lengthy, but then he was able to say something in his own defense. What's always interesting about this case is that the legal judgment on liability, because of course this is a civil case, has already been made by the judge. This is all about the penalties, and a lot of the arguments that the former president's lawyers seem to be making, including in their closing arguments, goes to the merits of whether or not there was fraud, which is already a done deal. And so this is about the consequences, this is about the penalties, and so the former president being able to have an opportunity to say something is obviously in his interest politically, which is about all he can get out of this at this point.
One of the things that strikes me about that in this regard, Gloria, is the contrast from what we saw last night during the debate between Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley.
Right.
They were both talking about...
Bro, I cannot remember how to play this game. Like, I know that... I know how to do it. It's just, I don't remember what the optimal ways to build this is. To, like, build the starting bus. And so, because I can't remember what the optimal way to do that is, I'm struggling to build the next thing. I need to just do it and fix it later.
How these legal issues are a distraction, how voters shouldn't be concerned with these things. Trump doesn't seem to think that. He's leaning into this all the way, and it doesn't seem to be hurting him.
30 of those.
Totally. I mean, he commandeered the microphone in court and essentially gave a political speech, not only attacking Letitia James, but also attacking the judge. And, you know, he said, according to one transcript, that you can't listen for more than 1 minute. And he said, I did nothing wrong, going on and on. I'm sure we'll hear more of this today. But it is quite stunning that, you know, his attorney was asked to control his client by the judge. And clearly he couldn't and didn't want to. This was, you know, this was a move that they had choreographed and planned, even though, you know, they didn't get explicit permission to do it. And no matter what the judge said, Donald Trump did exactly what he wanted to do.
Asking forgiveness, right?
Well, not
asking
really.
Asking permission at first, being denied, not really answering that, and then maybe just dealing with it a little bit later.
Well, and it is a risk for the court to have him speak publicly. This particular judge has had to deal with the fact that the former president has made statements about the judge, made statements about court personnel, and so there has been an underlying security issue as it relates, and as was reported at the top of the hour, there was a swatting incident apparently against this particular judge, and this swatting
Which is
issue
insane.
is to judges, court personnel.
Wait, who
officials.
got
I mean,
swatted now?
Top of the hour, there was a
I
swatting
heard about a bomb
incident
threat.
apparently against this particular judge, and this
Huh.
swatting issue as it pertains to judges,
That's
court
fucking
personnel,
crazy.
elected
Like,
officials.
actually
I mean, this is something
insane.
that is pervading not just this case, but all of the legal.
Like, with anybody else, if this sort of shit was happening to a judge, everyone would be saying, like, this is some, like, gangland activity, dude. What am I lacking? Iron plates, of course. I'm stupid. I need a lot of these. Make a bunch of those. We'll look at that in a second.
Wrapped up into the campaign.
It's also part of the Trump persona, which is that nobody can make the case better than Donald Trump. His attorneys can't do it. Nobody can do it. So he felt the need to stand up and put a bow on it and be the one to sort of have the final word. I mean, it is very characteristic of Donald Trump to say, you know, I know more than my lawyers. I can do a better job than my lawyers. I'm going to address this judge directly, and don't tell me what to do. I'm sure his attorneys, as Paula Reed has said earlier, probably didn't think this was a great idea, but he did it anyway.
Okay. I'll look at this for 1 second, and then I need to run to the bathroom and grab something to drink. Heel versus babyface is wrong to rant about. Is heel versus babyface the pronouns guy? It's wrong to rant about pronouns because who cares? Then why aren't the same people attacking Nexus mods? Like, who cares if people install this mod, right? But the reality is that it does matter, doesn't it? It matters a lot. Why do people not know how to spell a lot? A space L-O-T. It's not one word. There's not two L's. I don't understand. This is why you cry about heels, because you want people to pretend it doesn't matter when you want to hide under the rug of the evidence of how many would have downloaded this mod. Pronoun removal mod has been banned by Nexus mods. I actually don't care. I actually don't care. If people want to... I don't understand why they would remove that mod. Like, you have to choose. You have to choose to use that mod. So why would anybody fucking care at all? Like, whatsoever? Oh, you don't think that you didn't think that was going to be my argument? Yeah, people should be able to do it if they want to. It's just stupid. Okay, let me see here. I can't scream it right now. We have people in the house downstairs. Can't scream. Okay. Give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to run downstairs. I'm going to use the bathroom, and then I'm going to come back, and I think we'll be closer towards being able to do something else. Something a little bit more exciting. Glenn chiming in on Ben versus Tucker. Ooh, exciting. I'll be right back. right, what did I say we were going to do next?
To serve.
Let's see what this is.
The people. This week has once again revealed that extreme MAGA Republicans have zero interest in doing anything productive that is designed to benefit the American people. House Republicans are the party.
Now is who? Oh, it was Jamal Bowman that did it.
Of insurrection,
pulled the fire alarm.
Impeachment, and illegitimate investigations. Nothing more, nothing less. Insurrection, impeachment, and illegitimate investigations. These extremists have made clear once again this week that they have no ideas, no agenda.
Yo, can someone link me the Marjorie Taylor Greene part of the congressional hearing? Because I heard some crazy shit went down with that, but I actually did not watch it at all. So she evidently like pulled up a fuckload of pictures of Hunter Biden's cock, like in the courtroom in Congress, just like started showing them, and it caused like a big disturbance. Can someone find me that that clip?
No vision, and have made no progress.
Let's see what kind of videos Vosh puts out nowadays.
Solving problems for everyday Americans. It's sad and it's shameful that extreme MAGA Republicans have turned the House of Representatives into a spectacle and a national embarrassment. The most unproductive Congress in modern American history being presided over.
Also, if anybody has like a good short video that explains the Mama Max stuff, I would love to see that too. Because all of the videos going over it are like 4 fucking hours long, and I'm simply never going to devote that much time to seeing what the drama is about. But everybody's talking about it, so. Hey, can you flip the switch so that the fan turns on? Because it's warm up here. I had the remote. Flip it the other way. There we go. It's warm.
By these MAGA Republicans whose agenda, let me correct myself, is chaos, dysfunction, and extremism. That's their agenda. That's their substantive agenda. Anchored around insurrection, impeachment, and illegitimate investigation. Question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Leader. I wanted to ask you with respect to government funding. Obviously, we saw Leader Schumer start to move the process forward in terms of a potential CR. Is that something you support? If so, how long do you think it should be? And will Democrats provide the votes for one?
Well, there are ongoing discussions about where we are at in the appropriations process and whether we have the ability to complete the work under the time frame that is in front of us, which right now involves deadlines on both January 19th and February 2nd. I think that we have to continue to press forward to get as much done, but there are some practical realities that many of the appropriators on both sides of the aisle have indicated could constrain them from completing their work as it relates to doing what needs to be done.
Man, what the fuck is wrong with FD Signifier? Why is every single one of his videos like about this? 1 second. He had in this the clip of, wait, which was the one? Oh, this is the one where he had a raccoon pop up directly after showing Shark 300. Hey, Kat. Both of these. Wait, why are there two of them? Oh, the real faces. Okay, and the fake faces. So he just like talks about like fake black people all the time, and it's so weird. It is so fucking weird to me. Anyways, let's keep listening.
In the most robust way for the American people. So from my perspective, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's a question that I think is going to be before us as to the need for continuing resolution sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Michelle Obama said that she's terrified about possible outcome of 2024 election. In terms of your priorities, leadership priorities for 2024, what's your response to those who may share the same concern about possible return of Donald Trump to the White House?
Well, the American people should be terrified by the prospect that the leading candidate for the Republican Party is the twice impeached.
Okay, I don't care. Let's watch this. It's short, and maybe we can see what the fuck is going on.
Serious topic. I'm sure most of you know who a creator by the name of Mama Max is and the controversy currently surrounding them, but in case some of you don't, we'll provide some backstory of how this whole controversy started. On November 25th, 2023, a creator by the name of Mama Max uploaded a video titled, "This is the greatest cancellation of all time," adding Moist Critical in said title. It has since been changed to something less aggressive, but regardless, the damage has already been done. The purpose of the video, at least from an outsider's perspective, was extremely confusing and did not clearly show what the intent of publishing it was. The title, both current and past one, did not and does not accurately represent what the purpose of the video is. This is by design, as admitted by Mama Max himself.
This is a call to action disguised as a cancellation.
Now, when covering a topic as serious as human trafficking, this is one of the last mistakes you want to make. Regardless, after watching the entirety of Mama Max's video, at least from what I've gathered, it was an attempt to reach out to Critical via a public platform since, at least in Mama Max's mind, Moist Critical was ghosting and or ignoring him every time he attempted to reach out to Critical privately. In reality, Moist Critical was simply...
He's like fucking Stan. Hey, Moist, I know you got my fan mail. Why aren't you writing me back? Hey, Moist, why aren't you writing me back, Moist? We're like best friends. I know we would be best friends if you would just accept and read my fan mail, please.
Sick at the time, and he was not using any social media platforms while he was in recovery. This includes Discord, as admitted by Moist Critical himself. He already rarely uses the application anyways.
Yeah, so here, you want me to talk about it a little bit? That rubbed me the wrong way. We talked like a month ago about like what he was working on in his investigation, and then apparently when I had COVID, he messaged me a couple times and I never saw it. And now he's taken that as me ghosting him and ignoring his very important mission. And it really rubs me the wrong way. He's jumping to the most extreme possible explanation for me not seeing it, which is really fucking cringe. That did make me upset. I barely used Discord in the first place. It was a miracle I ever even saw his message to begin with. And then I spent 12 days not doing anything online in bed. And during that time, apparently it changed his whole framing of the video in order to make it like a Trojan horse of cancel Critical because he didn't respond to my messages and ghosted me.
However, because Mama Max assumed the worst, he has unintentionally created this controversy that has since eclipsed his original message that he initially wanted to spread. Whether for better or for worse, he has unintentionally destroyed any attempt at bringing light to the situation he wanted to cover, something I am sure Mama Max is not used to, since after all, he is the same person who started the hashtag #PickAsideYouTube. This was after YouTube struck down one of his videos covering a child predator. Now I want to talk about the contents in the video, as there are a lot of issues I personally have with it. First off, the intention of the video right off the bat is already wrong. While yes, human trafficking is indeed bad, and I don't think anyone's going to try and disagree with that, no one is obligated to talk about the issues they don't want to discuss, especially when you've been in the person's DMs for weeks, practically begging for them to talk to you. Now, in the video, he uses the argument that human trafficking is a more important topic to cover than Sniper Wolf and Jack's films, and in the process, tries downplaying what actually happened to Jack's films by calling it, quote, just the latest drama or trend.
Behind the clicks and views of internet drama, there's a story we're overlooking. Millions of stories, in fact.
Does he always talk like this? Wait. Why is he talking like he's anonymous?
The latest drama or
I
trend.
am anonymous.
Behind the clicks and views of internet drama, there's a story.
Behind the clicks of internet drama, there's a story that you have to hear. Like I am the Batman. Like what the fuck is going on?
We're overlooking millions of stories, in fact. Stories that scream for immediate attention, yet continue to be muffled by the cacophony of the latest drama or trend.
As I am sure many of you are aware, it was much more than just another YouTube drama. I think we can all agree that physically harassing someone at their house and in the process doxing their house to millions of people live surpasses simple YouTube drama. While saying human trafficking is indeed more important of a subject to talk about isn't inherently wrong, the same argument could very much so be made right back at him. For example, Mama Max, why are you covering small human trafficking cults when there's major conflicts in the world that are resulting in thousands of innocent civilians being killed, much like what's happening in Gaza and Ukraine? Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying he has to do this. I'm simply using his own logic against him. To act as if another content creator has a quote-unquote responsibility to cover certain topics on their channel just because their size is asinine, and to try and call out other creators who have done nothing simply because they aren't talking about what you want them to is moronic. Pathetic even. Let's all be honest with ourselves. If you really, and I mean really, want to do something about human trafficking, Max, a YouTube video will have little to no effect at the end of the day. Will it spread awareness? Yes. But awareness without action amounts to nothing, and you might as well be screaming into the void. Now, I want to talk about some of the events that have transpired since the upload of that faithful video. If you don't know, Max's entire crusade is against a man named Gerard Davis, or as some people know him, the Black Werewolf Cult Leader. I know. It sounds ridiculous, but stay with me. Since the video he made trying to call out Critical, Max has been doing live streams to quote-unquote give the victims a voice. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and make the claim that Gerard Davis is either innocent or guilty. Frankly, my opinion on that is irrelevant to this conversation. But what I will say is that from everything we have seen, there does not appear to be any substantial evidence against this alleged pedophile werewolf cult leader. As ridiculous as that title may sound, that is what they are calling him. Now, Max has claimed on several occasions that he has more evidence to concretely prove that Gerard Davis is a predator, but that he can't show it because it would somehow invalidate that evidence from being used in court. Now, I'm no lawyer, nor will I pretend to have the knowledge of one, but from my understanding of US law, I'd fail to understand how making evidence public would somehow exclude it from being used in court. In fact, this very same sentiment was echoed by Mudahar, or as some people know him, Some Ordinary Gamers, when he talked to Max on stream.
I would say sit down with your lawyer again, because I've never heard any lawyer that would say that to me. Like, you know, hey, if you present this message, it's going to be invalidated, right? Like, you know, I literally released an entire call that I had with somebody just because they were threatening lawsuits against me.
So he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
How the situation was publicly presented. That doesn't mean that that call is going to be invalidated, right? Even based on technicalities, you can always take things to court.
Mama Max doesn't know shit.
So I would definitely confer with the lawyer again. There is no reason why you shouldn't.
I'd fail to understand how making evidence public would somehow exclude it from being used in court. In fact, this very same sentiment was echoed by Mudahar, or as some people know him, Some Ordinary Gamers, when he talked to Max on stream.
I would say sit down with your lawyer again, because I've never heard any lawyer that would say that to me. Like, you know, hey, if you present this message, it's going to be invalidated, right? Like, you know, I literally released an entire call that I had with somebody just because they were threatening lawsuits against me.
So he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
How the situation was publicly presented. That doesn't mean that that call is going to be invalidated, right? Even based on technicalities, you can always take things to court.
Yeah.
Mama Max doesn't know shit.
So I would definitely confer with the lawyer again. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to present that. Absolutely.
And if your lawyer is telling you one thing, definitely talk to another lawyer, get a second opinion for sure.
I don't mean to come across as insensitive towards the alleged victims that Gerard Davis supposedly sexually assaulted through psychological manipulation. However, when we live in a world where false accusations are spread like wildfires, we need to be extremely careful with who we believe. The most recent example that comes to mind is Dream. Dream has had numerous allegations of predatory behavior come out against him, only for every single one of them to be proven false. But not until after the damage had already been done, all because some people just wanted free attention. Now, I'm not saying that what happened to Dream is what is taking place here, but what I am saying is that we cannot blindly follow witness testimonies as if they're objective truths. Max has even had sexual assault and abuse allegations levied against himself, only for them to also be proven false. This only makes things worse for Max, as he has had first-hand experience of what happens to someone when false allegations like that are made. Even if the allegations against Gerard Davis turn out to be 100% true, the fact that Max has prematurely made these claims without the proper evidence to back it up has only hurt the victims and their case in the long run. This next thing I'm going to talk about is probably one of the worst things Max could have done when it comes to trying to help his case. I want to ask you guys a question. Do y'all think that full legal names are considered PII or personally identifiable information? And furthermore, would you consider leaking one's full legal name to be doxing? Well, according to our Lord and Savior Mama Max, the answer to both of those questions is surprisingly no, they're not. Now, once again, I am no legal expert, but what I can do is use the internet. And as the first result on Google states, yes, full names are indeed PII or personally identifiable information. The fact you even have to ask that question is fucking mind-boggling. Now, you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with Gerard Davis? Well, Max, in his infinite fucking wisdom, thought it was a good idea to contact Gerard Davis's mother and brother to ask about Gerard Davis. And not only did he do that, but he doxed their full names and encouraged his audience to constantly harass his family until they got answers. Another commentator by the name of Lyrics even called him out on this on stream, and instead of apologizing, Max doubles down and tries defending it.
After our call, you did something I found was pretty egregious, where you started to like direct your chat to tell them to go reach out to the mom and to the brother to find out information about Camden. Is that that's true, right?
That's insane, if true.
I guess so.
Yeah. So I think that sets a horrible fucking standard, because like, to my knowledge, you don't have any proof that they're even involved, right? Like the mom didn't help out Camden with his potential abuse to these kids. Or the brother. Like, you can't prove either of that, correct?
Correct.
Can you at least understand other people's perspective on how, if you set that standard for the internet, where you start involving so many other people that aren't even directly involved and they become collateral damage for something that they're not even involved with, you could see how that's an obvious, like a horrible standard to set. And now you're just involving innocent people into a crime that they didn't even commit.
I think it's a standard that should be set if the person they are going after is an actual sexual predator who is active.
In your stream, you acknowledged on how people have doxed you before, correct? And how people, like, how that's affected your life. So you're very familiar with how the internet works. And you're very familiar that if you're telling thousands of people on a live stream that, hey, you know what, you should contact these people to get information about this pedophile. And also, like, you're doxing the mom's name. Didn't you do that?
Saying the full name of an individual is not doxing.
What do you mean?
There is no chance in hell that you can genuinely try and sit here and say that full names are not identifiable information. If people on YouTube knew my full name, then I'd have been fucked over so many times by now because of it. It is only because I keep my personal information private that I have not had people like Scythe try and fuck me over. Listen, Max, I understand your cause is a noble one, and at least it seems you genuinely want to make a difference. But this is not the path you want to walk down. This is something people will never forget, and this is something that you have permanently damaged your character with. People are no longer going to trust you because of this. This is not something you can try and defend, no matter the reasoning. Gerard Davis's family should have been completely left out of this. They have nothing to do with his actions. This distrust that people are are having towards you is only getting worse and worse the longer this situation goes on. You claim Gerard Davis is a predator, and you claim to have concrete evidence of this. But when people ask to see this evidence, you say you can't show them because it would somehow make it invalid to use in court. And when Lyrics continues to press you about your quote-unquote evidence, you tell him to go ask Mudahar, because according to you, Mudahar has seen the evidence, only for Mudahar to DM Lyrics personally and say that he hasn't seen anything concrete and that he is only further confused by your quote-unquote evidence. And that isn't even the end of it. After all this happened on stream,
not even the end of it.
Lyrics and Mama Max were done streaming, Max privately DMs Lyrics, threatening to strike down his VOD because of private information being shown, according to him. And can you guess what that private information was? A victim's fucking name. A name that, according to him, is not personally identifiable information, and a name that not even he had the courtesy of censoring in his own stream. And even after Lyrics agrees to take down the VOD and re-upload it with all the names censored, you still make a long and veiled threat to Lyrics because of the audience he has, and on top of that, you try and claim that he targets survivors of child sexual assault? Max, you have royally fucked up. Whether or not Gerard Davis turns out to be a predator or not is completely irrelevant now. You have fucked up at every point possible. You doxed innocent people and incited harassment upon them. You blatantly lie about having evidence against Gerard Davis, and when people like Lyrics try and question you, you kick them from the call not once, not twice, but 3 times. And after all is said and done, you still threaten to strike his channel down. There isn't going to be any funny lighthearted outro for this video. This entire situation could have been avoided if you would have just fucking waited. All you needed to do was have patience, Max. But no, you had to go and fuck it all up for yourself, the victims, and the innocent people involved. I'm fucking done with this shit. I'll see y'all later.
Sorry, I have to stand up one more time. Ugh. Never mind. Okay, let's see what this is. Only on
Here
Rumble,
is the
but also
interview
on
that
YouTube.
Tucker Carlson gave. He gave it in, I'm going to show you 2 segments. The first one was his attack on Ben Shapiro and his allies for seemingly wanting to prioritize the needs of Israel over the needs of the United States. And here's what he told Sagar Enjeti. This was on December 29th.
For years. I've watched it with Ukraine, and I watch it now with Israel. You know, I watched in particular, there was a lot of consternation around some comments you made, I think by Ben Shapiro and other, where you were like, well, I've never seen this level of care about Americans who are dying of fentanyl, which I think is a traditional nationalist message. And yet I've watched the entire kind of right-wing ecosystem get embroiled in fundamentally what is a third world conflict. Now, we can say support, you know, not support, we can have criticisms, etc. of that. But what explains this like literal allegiance to narrative on Ukraine, on Israel? Why is it that so many of these people don't seem to have the same level of care for actual American citizens?
You know, I find it really distressing. And in both of those conflicts, I approached it with a clean conscience because I just don't have strong feelings one way or the other. And I'm not hostile. I've never hated Ukraine. I don't have any feelings about Ukraine. And Russia, same thing. I've never been to either place, and I'm not invested emotionally. So I could just look at it from an American perspective. In the case of Israel and the Arab world, I've spent a fair amount of time in both, and I like both. And I felt terrible for the people who were killed on October 7th. I still do. So I had no weird motive. I was just like thinking about it from an American perspective. Is this good for us or is it not? And I was just amazed by the intolerance and the willingness to immediately go to invective and character assassination. And it's like, well, I said, you know, first of all, if the people who live in Gaza who are being moved out are so evil and dangerous that they can't live in the region, why would you want them to move into my country? I mean, what are you saying? They can't live there because it's too scary to live next to them, but they can live next to me? So at that point, I felt very hostile about that because it showed such contempt for me and my family and my neighbors and my country. It is my country.
Who is saying what?
They can't live there. I mean, what are you so evil and dangerous that they can't live in the region? Why would you want them to move into my are so evil and said, you know, first of all, if the people who live in Gaza who are being moved out are so evil and dangerous that they can't live in the region, why would you want them to move into my country? I mean, what are you saying? They can't live there because it's too scary to live next to them, but they can live next to me? So at that point, I felt very hostile about that.
That's not what anybody is saying. Is anybody saying that we should be shipping the entire population of Gaza over to the United States? No, nobody's saying this.
Because it showed such contempt for me and my family and my neighbors and my country. It is my country. That's how I feel about it anyway. It's all of our country. And so I was like disgusted by that. And I said so. And I don't know why that's weird. Why wouldn't I be offended by that? And then it was immediately, you know, I'm a hater or a bigot or something like that. None of that registered with me.
No, the reason people don't like you when you talk about fucking Israel or Ukraine, especially Ukraine, is because you take just whatever is the opposite of the current administration's stance. There's no other thought given to anything. It is, does Biden believe this? If so, then bad. That's literally all it is. That's literally all it is. You have nothing else. Okay, how should I go about doing this? Should it be here? Let's do it here. And then no, I was wrong.
Because, you know, first of all, I've been attacked for so long, but attacks that aren't true, you know, if somebody said, you know, wow, you gained some weight this summer, I'd be like, oh, it would hurt my feelings because it's true. But if someone's like, oh, you're a hater, or you hate, you know, that's not true. So I don't really care. But I did think it showed like the level of not just corruption, which I knew, but of like emotional instability and craziness. I mean, there are people, and
they're emotionally unstable,
but there are people on the right who have spent the last 2 months every single day focused on a conflict in a foreign country as our own country becomes dangerously unstable on the brink of financial collapse with tens of millions of people.
We're on the brink of collapse. We're financially unstable. All of this is news to me. By what metric? By like literally, where is this happening? Because I haven't seen it. Have you guys seen the like massive instability that we're all about to fucking die because we don't have... One second. Is something attacking my base? Okay, I heard something. Okay.
Who shouldn't be here in the country. We don't know their identities or the purpose of their being here. Like stuff that's could destroy the country for real and make it impossible for my kids to live here. They've said nothing about that, and they're focused with laser intensity on foreign conflicts. And I'm like, at some point, I've got 4 kids. If I'm so caught up in the problems of my neighbor's children and completely ignoring my own children as they get addicted to drugs and kill themselves, you know, I'm not against helping my neighbor's kids, but clearly I don't love my kids. I mean, that's you know, that's the only logical conclusion, and they don't care about the country at all. You know, of my neighbor's children and completely ignoring my own children, possible for my kids to live here. They've said nothing about that, and they're focused with laser intensity on foreign conflicts. And I'm like, at some point, I've got 4 kids. If I'm so caught up in the problems of my neighbor's children and completely ignoring my own children as they get addicted to drugs and kill themselves, you know, I'm not against helping my neighbor's kids, but clearly I don't love my kids. I mean, that's you know, that's the only logical conclusion, and they don't care about the country at all. And that's, you know, that's kind of their prerogative, but
it's not at all like that. I don't even know what to say. like people want to draw these analogies about like how to, like one of the things that I remember a long time ago, I had a boss that was very conservative. Very conservative. Listen to, you know, Rush Limbaugh in the car type, pretty extreme. All right, Tea Partier. And I remember her. She wasn't a bad person. She was just wrong. And I remember her one time saying, "I think the government should run like a family. The government should treat its citizens like I would treat my children." And I'm like, no, I actually don't think that's what a government should do. Like, it sounds nice because we have like these buzzwords about family. We have these ideas about how you're supposed to, you know, take care of family, all of that shit. But like, at the end of the day, is that what we actually want? I don't think so. I don't think we want the government to treat us like we're children. At least conservatives don't, okay? And if you want to like think about it as if like, oh, well, if I support this thing, I'm necessarily not caring enough about this other thing. No, because we can do, believe it or not, we can do multiple things at once, right? We have the power, okay? We do. We have the power to do a lot of things that nobody else can do. Why? Because we're America. We have all of the money. We have all of the money. We are the world's standard for currency. Nobody's going to destroy our ability to take care of our own citizens without us going to like total war.
I do.
And we also have basically unlimited money, like definitionally, because of our monetary system. So,
because I have no choice, because I'm from here, my family's been here hundreds of years, I plan to stay here. Like, I'm shocked by how little they care about the country, and including the person you mentioned. And I can't imagine how someone like that could get an audience of people who claim to care about America, because he doesn't, obviously.
I mean, Tucker, we've seen it too on free speech. I mean, people who become multimillionaires.
All right, so let me just stop at that for a second, because one of the reasons I hope you read this article that I wrote, if you haven't yet, is because I spend a good amount of time documenting the very ample costs and damage that the United States endures, that we incur, in order to tie ourselves at the hip to Israel. There is no country on the planet who has been as steadfastly devoted to the Israeli war as the United States. A lot of countries in the first week with the emotion of October 7th stood up and said, oh, we support Israel. And as I've seen what has unfolded in Gaza, the complete destruction of civilian life, they have often rapidly retreated, but the Biden administration is steadfast. They defend everything Israel does.
is there a country that is an ally with Israel that's not supporting them at all because of what's happening over there? Like, is any of this actually happening? I would just be shocked if it was true. Damn it.
And has made very clear that there's nothing that can get Joe Biden to reconsider paying for Israel's war, shielding it diplomatically in the world, and essentially justifying everything that they're doing. And I go through all those costs, which I really hope you'll read, and just
except for all of the stuff that Biden has done to pressure Israel, except for all of the stuff that, like, it's just, one sec. Where? You texted me. It must be old. What does it look like? I don't know about it. Okay.
Side is, are those costs worth it? Why are we willing to incur such mammoth cost? If you don't care about the moral component of the war, from just a pragmatic perspective, we interviewed Professor Mearsheimer last week, and he went through a lot of that as well. But the amazing thing about it is the abandonment of conservative principles, including the fact that, as Tucker just alluded, and this is something else I document in the article, the minute that you raise any of these issues, the minute you start questioning the Israeli government or you start questioning the American support for it, you will not just be disagreed with, you will have your character smeared. You will be called racist and bigoted and told that you
Oh my
are
God.
driven.
OBS just disconnected. Oh, never mind. We're back, I guess. Fuck, what was I saying? Fuck, what was he saying and what was
the
I saying?
American right for Jews, and the irony of that is
Oh yeah, if you guys like talk about it in the way that you do, where there's like some sort of, you know, malicious plot underneath that's, you know, some sort of like Jewish cabal, like, yeah, people are going to think that you're saying some like crazy shit. Yeah, obviously. But not always.
is that the primary grievance of the American right when it comes to left liberal tactics is that a lot of people on the left, a lot of American liberals, are incapable of engaging in debate any longer without immediately accusing everybody who disagrees with them of being racist and bigots. And to listen to the American right complain about that all these years and then watch them become the leaders of and the most aggressive and casual purveyors of that topic. Everyone in American life knows that if you criticize Israel or if you question American support for Israel, you will be accused of anti-Semitism. To the point that just like racism and all the other accusations whose meaning has been diluted because of its overuse and cynical exploitation, that accusation has lost its sting, which is very dangerous because there is anti-Semitism in the United States. But that phrase is increasingly losing its sting because of how cheapened it has been, principally from the pro-Israel right that tosses that word around automatically for whoever questions that foreign country, which is the right of every American citizen to do. And that's exactly what happened to Tucker. A lot of conservatives who have been holding their tongue as he's been criticizing Israel for the last 3 months heard this interview and decided this was a bridge too far. Now, the other point that he made, and this is one that he's made with me twice. I did his show early on in the conflict, I think late October, and then he came on my show last month, and this is one of the things we focused on was the extraordinary way in which the American right has aggressively embraced, not all the American right, this sector of the American right has aggressively embraced the exact tactics of censorship, cancellation, all the things they pretended to oppose and loathe when done to them in order to silence and punish and destroy their reputations and even get fired a lot of Israel critics. And the excuse that I always hear from those who are doing that is, oh, no, we're just doing this because we want to make the left finally have to live under the regime of censorship they created. And the reason that's so false
what the fuck is he saying, dude? Why are the conspiracy people so impossible to fucking listen to? Oh my fucking God. It is actually absurd to me how difficult it is to listen to these motherfuckers, to process what they say and try and make sense of it. Say it again?
Decided this was a bridge too far. Now, the other point that he made, and this is one that he's made with me twice. I did his show early on in the conflict, I think late October, and then he came on my show last month, and this is one of the things we focused on was the extraordinary way in which the American right has aggressively embraced, not all the American right, this sector of the American right has aggressively embraced the exact tactics of censorship, cancellation, all the things they pretended to oppose and loathe when done to them in order to silence and punish and destroy their reputations and even get fired a lot of Israel critics. And the excuse that I always hear from those who are doing that is, oh, no, we're just doing this because we want to make the left finally have to live under the regime of censorship they created. And the reason that's so false is because this did not just start happening in October 7th. For as much as right-wing speech has been the target of censorship in college campuses and more broadly in our political culture, especially since the Trump presidency, Israel critics of the Israeli government, have been the most frequent and the most aggressive targets of censorship in academia and in media. More people have lost their jobs for expressing criticism of Israel in academia, in media, in our corporate world on this topic more than any other.
Why is
not
that?
New. It is the opposite of new.
See, this is what I was talking
I
about.
have interviewed on this show many people who have lost their jobs for expressing criticism of Israel. That has been a major source of censorship in the United States for many years, and it doesn't come from the American left. Now, here is what Tucker has said about that in his interview with Enjeti.
Well, I mean, Tucker, we've seen it too on free speech. I mean, people who've become multimillionaires, who've made entire careers, who've literally became famous, on this very reason. I know you've spoken about this previously, but it's very important to our audience as well. Is that standing up for free speech rights of people you disagree with is probably the most important exercise, and we've seen some of that come for American citizens on Palestine. How do you work through this too when we're both under such immense pressure, even social pressure, of like how could you support this? Take maybe the context of the university presidents. We've got billionaires like Bill Ackman, I'm curious what you make of this. My assessment is they're upset that they're not included as marginalized within the DEI regime. They claim to be against the DEI regime. But will you really keep going to make sure that all this racial hatred and all this other that's been enshrined in elite institutions will be, once you get a win, are you really going to keep going past that? What's your assessment of this general moment on Palestinian, free speech hypocrisy and more?
Well, we have free speech in this country, and it applies to people we disagree with by definition, period. I mean, it's the first right guaranteed that, of course, it precedes government. It's given to us by God, as the document says.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the first right enumerated in our founding documents. So it's the foundation of the country. And so you can't give any ground on that, like none. And anyone who would give ground on that, and I would include the governor of Florida, who I think is a good governor, and I like him personally, but signing a censorship bill is completely unacceptable. And I don't care what your motives are. I mean, this spring, there was some black nationalist group that was indicted by the Biden Justice Department for its views on Russia. And my first thought was, that's...
Wasn't that it was some group that the Black Hammer people were like an offshoot of? Do I have that right? Wasn't that to do with the fact that they were like feeding information or like doing the bidding of someone in Russia?
That's not acceptable. Now, how much do I have in common with the black nationalist group that I guess probably hates people who look like me? Actually, I probably 100% chance I'd like him if I had dinner with him. To be honest, I'm sure they're really good guys. I mean, I just sort of feel that, but
really?
But whatever. It was irrelevant to me. You can't do that. You can't try to put people in prison for expressing opinions the government doesn't like or the ruling class doesn't like, or any opinion.
Yeah.
Any opinion.
What were the actual charges? They were acting as unregistered agents of Russia. Conspiring to act as agents for Russia. Wait, why is acting as an unregistered agent of Russia carrying a maximum of 5 years, but if you're just conspiring to act as agent of Russia, it could bring up to 10 years? Can someone make that make sense to me? If you just conspire to do it, you could have a worse charge than if you actually do it. You might as well just do it at that point, right?
Must be protected, or no opinions are protected. So anybody who seeks to...
Also, notice how this is what they do all the fucking time for some reason. It's always, oh, well, they're being arrested for their opinions. Oh, they're being arrested because they disagree. But then when you look at the actual charges, it's like, oh, they were literally accepting money from Russia and, spreading propaganda at the bidding of the leaders of Russia. Or like January 6th, like, oh, well, these guys were just, they were just protesting, right? Or they were being led around the Capitol by people who were, basically giving them a guided tour. And then you like look at the charts of the individual people. It's like, oh, this lady had an ice pick and was using it on cops and shit, right? It's just like insane. You have to completely obfuscate the entirety of someone's actions in order to pretend like they did nothing wrong when it's very obvious that they did.
Limit my ability to say what I think, believe what I want, is treating me as a slave. I mean, not as a human being, and certainly not as a citizen. That's just really clear, and I don't know why people don't grasp this. But one sort of parenthetical, ironic note, to see people who spent a career mocking, the sensitive liberals on campus who want safe spaces and they're, feeling in danger because opinions are violence, say that exact same thing. People feel unsafe. What? No. Words are not violence. You have to tolerate them in a free society or it's not a free society. As to the question.
All right, so that was, you can understand, I think, what became such a provocative critique of the American right and the reason it fostered so much debate and also led to my article. Now, as I said, I think I was so happy to finally be writing again after many, many months that the article ended up basically being 4 articles in one, and we had to spend a lot of time trying to reduce it to a manageable length, and it's still a somewhat long article, but certainly within reason. But there were a couple of standalone articles that we're going to publish, one of which was on Bill Ackman, who has become, for a lot of pro-Israel conservatives, this kind of heroic messiah figure, because people have come to believe that he's really interested in dismantling the diversity, equity, inclusion programs at American academia, when in reality that is not his goal. That is the pretense under which he's marching. His real goal is to purge academia of Israel criticism, and knows that in order to get the support of the American right that he needs to package it in this other package. The other aspect of the entire controversy that rarely gets attention because it's taboo is something I also wrote about and then took out, but I'm going to publish it shortly, about how taboos function in American discourse. The reality is, and I just wish people would be a lot more honest about this, is that there are millions of Americans, not just American Jews, but evangelical conservatives and others who are taught from birth or from childhood, they're indoctrinated with the belief that Israel is not just another foreign country, that Israel is a special country. It has a particular importance.
People always want to make these claims about, like, we're indoctrinated from birth to believe a certain thing. Man, most of these narratives I've never heard of until I started streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. Until I started streaming, a lot of these narratives were completely alien to me. Like, wait, were we told that we were just like super nice to the Native Americans when we were in school? I never heard that. Were we told, like, conservatives will do this thing where, like, anything that is like bad in America's history, will be like told, like, oh, well, it didn't happen, right? And then lefties will like point out things that are like things that didn't happen, but they'll say that we did them because it makes us look bad, right? Like it's just like insane. Like I remember one lefty said that we were told that the communists in World War II, we were taught that the communists were our enemies, or like we had anti-communism going into World War II. And that might be somewhat true, but is it like really accurate? Not really. Like, I don't remember them really commenting on communism the entire time that I was in school. The entire time that I was in school. We barely touched on it, except for in econ, where they talked about, it being, whatever. A sort of governmental system that does X, Y, Z. Like, that's what we learned. We didn't learn all these, like, boogeyman arguments about, like, how how bad communism is. We didn't learn all these boogeyman arguments about how good capitalism is, right? But this lefty was saying that people in high school are being taught that the real enemy in World War II were the communists and not the Nazis, and that they praise the Nazis in high school, which is just so unbelievably far from the truth. I don't even know where to begin. You know? Like, nobody says this. Nobody is saying this at all. I heard it, but they went back. They went and backhanded you with the "not when I reached middle school." Wait, heard which one? My schools never got to communism, just that revolutions were they're talking about the Native American stuff. My schools never got to communism, just that the revolutions were happening in Russia during World War One. Yeah, I think that's about as far as we got. But it's not like we were getting all this. I don't remember. And like, I'm pretty attuned to what is and what isn't propaganda at this point, and what things are and aren't just like narratives being sold. And like, looking back, the only time I feel like I was propagandized to were from communists. I never felt like there was any propaganda from a right or left-leaning source that made me feel like communism was based in school. I'm talking about, not online, because online I definitely did feel this. But yeah, I just never, I have no idea where people get this idea that this is the way that it is. It's insane.
Sometimes divinely ordained or culturally critical. And that has come to shape into adulthood a lot of people's views about what American policy should be geostrategically. And that plays a vital role in why people like Ben Shapiro look at a set-aside program for Jews, jobs only for American Jews, a contradiction of everything he claims to believe in, and his first reaction instinctively is to say, love this.
Wait, say it again?
Role. It was divinely ordained or culturally critical. And that has come to shape into adulthood a lot of people's views about what American policy should be geostrategically. And that plays a vital role in why people like Ben Shapiro look at a set-aside program for Jews, jobs only for American Jews, a contradiction of everything he claims to believe in, and his first reaction instinctively is to say, love this. I think that needs to be aired a lot more. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live.
We should watch more of that guy. This guy is insane. We should watch way more of him.
The largest media corporations in the United States.
Let's see here. How corporate greed caused Boeing's door disaster. Oh my God. Let's watch this one.
The President of the United States, Joe Biden, delivered a speech today, which obviously was intended to have this feel of something quite profound. It was about American democracy and the threats that it is under. And those threats.
I actually really liked the speech. I don't know if you guys heard it, but Biden's speech was actually pretty good. It felt really clinical. I'll say that it did feel very clinical. But other than that, I don't really have that many critiques about it. It was a fine, fine little speech. Who cares? I mean, like, the MAGA people like super care because he's, saying that there are good Republicans and there are bad Republicans. And they don't like the idea of who is the bad Republican in his view. So let's see here. Let's put you right here and then you right there.
According to Joe Biden, unsurprisingly, come not from his party or from his administration or his presidency, but rather from Donald Trump and Donald Trump's movement. It was interesting that he actually didn't suggest that the threat to democracy comes from Nikki Haley or even Ron DeSantis. Instead, his focus was Donald Trump, to whom he compared to Adolf Hitler and to Nazis. And this is clearly intended in part to be a preview of the theme.
It was base as
Joe
fuck,
Biden's
I'll say that.
candidacy, that you may think his brain is melting. You may think the economy is in shambles. You may think that he's supporting a genocide and Nazi
None of which is
battalions in
true.
Ukraine.
None of which is true.
That you may think his brain is melting.
One second.
Focus was Donald Trump, to whom he compared to Adolf Hitler and to
Let's just
Nazis.
go through the claims.
And this is clearly intended in part to be a preview of the theme of Joe Biden's candidacy, that you may think his brain is melting. You may think the economy.
He might be old, but guess what? Trump is also really old. Trump will be older than Biden was when he first assumed office in 2021. Trump will be older than Biden was. Uh-oh. We can start to see Trump start making weird little mistakes during his speeches. They're both old, motherfucker. And at least Biden, all right, say what you will, but like at least Biden is a good leader, whereas Trump simply isn't.
Economy is in shambles. You may think that he's supporting a genocide and Nazi battalions in Ukraine. But he wants to tell you that as much as you hate Joe Biden, as much as polls show that people don't trust him or have faith in his competence, that basically he's running against Hitler. That's what American politics in so many ways has been reduced to, is just everybody running around calling each other racist and bigots and Hitler. We actually prepared a montage from 2 weeks ago of how every time there's a new war to fight or a potential new war to fight, the leaders of the countries or the groups that the media and the government want you to hate instantly get compared to Adolf Hitler. And then you have two choices. You either support the war and you get to be Winston Churchill, brave and steadfast and saving Russian democracy from the Nazis, or you'll be condemned if you oppose this new war as being Neville Chamberlain, an appeaser, or even worse, a Nazi sympathizer.
Man, I would love to argue with someone like him about so much. Like, I would love to see what he has to say about, like, against someone who actually can argue the points, like what he would say about all of the Russia stuff, all of the Ukraine stuff. Man, that would be so interesting, wouldn't it?
Sympathizer. And this is what every side now does. Obviously, people who oppose the U.S. war in Ukraine were accused of appeasement, accused of being on the side of the Russians. Putin was accused of being a Hitler figure, which means that anybody who didn't want to go to war against Putin was Neville Chamberlain or even a Nazi sympathizer.
100%.
And now, constantly with the war in Israel and Gaza, if you don't support the U.S. funding of Israel, it means that you're a Nazi as well, because you're probably anti-Semitic, don't like Jews.
True.
That's the only possible reason why you might not support what the Israelis are doing in Gaza. So the narrative goes. Just basically everybody running around calling each other Hitler, calling each other racist and bigots and Nazis. That's what American political rhetoric has been reduced to. So this speech was really designed to set that tone, obviously coming one day before January 6th. It's intended to exploit the emotions of January 6th, to try and imply or suggest or outright state that we only have two alternatives as Americans. We either vote for Joe Biden or we watch as American democracy end. So let's take a look at a couple of the lowlights or highlights or the most revealing parts to give you a sense for what Joe Biden said. They apparently did something to make him...
You weirdly repeat. Well, I would love to see these people get investigated. I would love to see these people get investigated for the same reasons that these people were investigated. acting as unregistered agents of Russia. I would love to see what an investigation into these people on those allegations, what that showed. Okay, what is this that you're linking me?
We got a lot of work to do. You know, when they let, I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming.
Man, the Hitler particles are just coming off of him constantly, huh?
Extra angry and energetic today. Here's part of what he said.
1,200 people have been charged for their assault on the Capitol. Nearly 900 of them have been convicted or pled guilty. Collectively to date, they have been sentenced to more than 840 years in prison.
Based? Bro?
What's Trump done?
Nothing.
Instead of calling them criminals, he's called these insurrectionists patriots.
Hostages.
Now, let me just stop and say there that of the vast majority of people who have been convicted in connection with January 6th and sent to prison are not even alleged to have engaged in violence, not even alleged to have used violence. These are nonviolent protesters.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority. Obviously, violence was used on January 6th by some of the people who were present. A lot of them.
Can we all just like agree really quick? Can we all just like get a temperature check on agreeing on this? He got fucking trounced by Destiny, and the entire debate was just him like actually crying like baby mad tears because Destiny. I actually don't even know why he hated Destiny so much in the conversation. Oh shit, do I have... Okay, you know what I need? I need selective... Yeah, I need those bad boys. Why can't I do this? Oh, I need that. Okay, we're gonna get this. And then that.
Them assaulted police officers, but the vast majority of them aren't even accused of engaging in violence. And now that we got to see all of the video, instead of just the video handpicked by Adam Schiff and Liz Cheney, now that we got to see all of the video, we see that people, a lot of them entered the Capitol because the police were directing them into the Capitol, and they were acting peacefully. Remember, the Q shaman, who we saw march around, speaking to everybody, sitting on the floor, never engaging in violence, was sentenced to almost 4 years in prison on top of the 9 months that he served, even though he was never accused of violence.
There's literally video of him being part of the crowd breaking into the Capitol. Breaking into. He was part of the crowd that broke in. He bashed the windows in. He doesn't get a free pass. You don't get a free pass to break the law just because you have a firmly held conviction in your fucking like dictator of choice. Sorry conservatives, sorry Republicans, you don't get to do that. You would lose your fucking mind if anyone else did it. So you don't get to do it either. Fuck off forever, please. And move from the country if you hate the system so much. If you like hate our country so much that you're willing to overthrow the government, please, for the love of all that is holy, fucking leave forever.
The media and the Democrats invented lies about what happened on January 6th to make it seem worse than it was. Remember, they went around saying that.
Also, really quick, just so everybody like just remembers that day. I mean, some of you guys were watching on stream at the same time as me because I was streaming the entire time. I don't know if you guys remember this, but everyone was freaked out about what was going on. Everyone was. You know what? I'll just go like this. And then that. Woohoo. There we go. Everyone was upset. Like, even conservatives, like fucking CTV, were on the verge of like breaking out of the Trump like mind hole that had come up since, you know, since he was elected. Like, everybody fucking hated what was going on. Everybody was upset. Everyone was saying this was horrible. This is bad. Obviously, this is bad. And it only took, I feel like it only took like 2 weeks. And that might be generous, okay? It took like 2 fucking weeks for these people to change their tune and just like not give in to cognitive dissonance. We're going to keep the dissonance there. How? Because fucking it was the FBI and it was Antifa and it was the CIA. All these groups were coming colluding to destroy us. It's like, man, I missed the almost complete solidarity that everyone had on the actual day after everything happened in like the political space, because everyone recognized how fucking bad of a place we were in. Is this the correct way to do this? It must be. No, it's not. How do I do this? Okay, I'll figure that out in a second.
The protesters in defense of Trump murdered a Capitol Hill police officer by bashing his head in with a fire.
No evidence? Yeah. North Carolina member of the Oath Keepers, William Todd Wilson, a 44-year-old former leader of the Sampson County chapter of the far-right militia group, is the third Oath Keeper to admit seditious conspiracy. Jesus.
Fire extinguisher. They said that over and over and over. It turned out to be an absolute lie. And the reason they invented so many fabrications is similar to the reason there were so many fabrications about October 7th in Israel. Dozens of babies beheaded, babies baked in ovens, babies cut out of the womb of their mother's stomach.
I believe that that one was true and that people have seen the video evidence of it, which is appalling.
All of which were debunked by Haaretz and other Israeli newspapers, none of which turned out to be true. There was one baby killed on October 7th. Obviously, there were a lot of terrible things that happened on October 7th by Hamas in Israel, just like there were people who spoke
and Israel on fuck off. Come on.
None of which turned out to be true. There was one baby killed on October 7th. Obviously, there were a lot of terrible things that happened on October 7th by Hamas in Israel, just like there were people who used violence on January 6th, and those people who used violence should, of course, be prosecuted.
How are you going to both sides? October 7th. How do you both sides something where one side is clearly in the wrong?
But when you have to lie about an event to make it worse, it's usually because you're trying to propagandize the public about it. The only people who died on January 6th, there were a grand total of 4 of them, all 4 of whom were Trump supporters, 2 of whom dropped dead of a heart attack, 1 of whom dropped dead of a speed overdose, and then the 4th, Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed at point-blank range by a Capitol Hill police officer. Nobody died on January 6th at the Capitol except for those 4 Trump supporters. Brian Sicknick died the following day. He called his parents at night, spoke to them, told his mother he was fine, and he died the next day of what the coroner ruled was natural causes. He did not have his head bashed in by a fire extinguisher. This is a complete lie. And the vast majority of people that Biden is talking about here are people who did not engage.
Also, again, I feel like I said this last time someone brought this point up, but like there's a difference between the media getting something wrong and the media trying to spin a narrative, right? In a breaking news situation, it is entirely possible for news outlets to get something wrong. Now, is that a good thing? No, it's not a good thing, right? We should hold them to a very, very high standard and expect them to get things right. But at the same fucking time, let's be fucking real. Can we be real for a second? One second. There we go. What did you say that was about to be real?
Suicide is very difficult to assess, but
let's be real. What was I saying to be real about? Fuck. The media. The media. I can't remember exactly what I was going to say, but like basically the quote unquote media is like largely right most of the time, and they'll issue corrections when they're wrong. In the breaking news situation, like that was coming out of October 7th, there's going to be some things that are wrong. But does that mean that everything was a lie to spin a narrative? No, it's just not true.
The reality is that the vast majority of people sentenced on January 6th did not commit violence. And the only people who died on January 6th, despite the lies repeatedly told by the media in the most melodramatic and manipulative ways, were Trump supporters. Here is a second segment from our president speaking in a very animated way for him about American democracy and the risks it faces.
Oh, he has to add in a little fucking snipe in there. Oh, he's so catty. That's what he was doing versus Destiny. He doesn't actually have an argument. So what does he do? He has to throw like these catty, snide little remarks out. It's so weird.
Echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany.
I mean, he did.
He proudly posts on social media the words
in a literal sense.
that
He
best
did.
describe his 2024 campaign. Quote, revenge, quote, power, and quote, dictatorship. There's no confusion about who Trump is, what he intends to do.
No, I think actually that what Biden's saying there is true. There's no confusion about who Trump is. And the reason this is such a difficult strategy for Joe Biden, of course he wants to make the election about Donald Trump. The last thing you want to do is make it about Joe Biden. No one likes Joe Biden, or very few Americans like Joe Biden.
Nobody likes this guy, so you shouldn't
the only chance
either.
they have is to try and say that Trump is a Hitler figure. The problem they have is that Trump was actually already president for 4 years. People watched as he did not build death camps. He did not haul minorities into prisons. Other than Julian Assange, who is now being prosecuted by the Biden administration, his administration did not imprison journalists or critics of his administration or dissidents. None of this happened. The other irony of all of this is that Joe Biden is actually the president who has spent the last 18 months, almost 2 years now, arming actual Nazis in Ukraine. How many shows have we done?
He's literally he's just a fucking bingo card for all the stupidest fucking opinions in the world, dude. It's actually fucking insane. It's actually insane. How the fuck? How the fuck does anyone take him serious? How does anyone listen to this guy and say, you know what? This is the guy where I want to get my opinions from. This guy that literally just repeats the same thing that like 18 other YouTubers say, but like just collates and collects all of the fucking talking points so that he can do whatever. Like, Jesus.
Very pervasive neo-Nazi ideology that governs the Ukrainians' most devoted fighters. The Azov Battalion and all those people who appear using Nazi insignia. Those are the actual Nazis, and those are the people that Joe Biden has been arming with lethal weapons for 2 years now. That is the Democratic Party. They see critics of the Democratic Party and they scream Nazi and Hitler, but then they meet real Nazis, like the real deal in Ukraine, and they say, oh, let's arm these people. And that's what the Biden administration has done. Until Israel, that was the most significant foreign policy of the Biden administration, is flooding that country filled with fans of the SS. Remember when the Canadian Parliament wanted to honor a Ukrainian Canadian who fought in World War II against Russia. They ended up quite embarrassed because, like so many of them, it turned out that he was an actual SS fighter. Now, here is John Favreau, who's the former Obama speechwriter. So he was the one who wrote Obama's speeches. He's now the host of the popular among Democrats podcast, Pod Save America. And he wrote, quote, "You can tell Biden feels this democracy speech deeply. He's animated and passionate. Pretty clear this is why he's running again." Yeah, he's not running for his own interests. He's not running because he's a lifelong politician who doesn't know how to give up power. He's running for you. He's running to save democracy because he so passionately believes in it. Now, as I said, trying to claim that Joe Biden is the only savior of American democracy is not only difficult because people watched Trump for 4 years and they may not have liked a lot of what he did, but they don't think he's Adolf Hitler. But also, it is Joe Biden who is trying to imprison Donald Trump.
No,
The
he's
thing
not.
They said Trump was
Where?
threatening to do with Hillary Clinton. And
Biden has no control over anything going on in do they just like not think? No, this is why I like unironically think. This is why I like unironically think that they work for Russia, because you have to be fucking retarded to say the things that he's saying. You have to be retarded. You can't. It's not just stupidity, right? You have to be either full on actual retard, or and here's the other option, right? Or you're like paid by Russia. Those are like the two options. Okay, this isn't going to work, is it? It will work.
and never did. That is what the Biden administration now, the Justice Department, is trying to do to Donald Trump. They're trying to imprison him. There are 2 cases under the auspices of the Biden Justice Department brought by a special counsel, Jack Smith. They're trying to turn Trump into a felon. On top of that,
he is
Democratic
going
Party
to be a felon.
activist groups,
Yeah.
and interest groups.
They are trying to turn him into a felon because he likely committed several felonies. Sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but he probably did. The reason they're trying to turn him into that is because they have a case against him. If they didn't have a case against him, they wouldn't be able to try him as a felon. But there's a case to be made, unfortunately for you and all your buddies that like to scream this.
All over the country are trying to keep Trump off the ballot. So they see polls revealing that more Americans want to vote for Trump as president than any other candidate. And their solution is to prevent Americans from being able to vote for Trump by claiming he committed a crime that he was never even charged with, let alone convicted of, which is insurrection. And then they turn around and they hold themselves up as the saviors of American democracy, the people trying to imprison their political opponent, ban him from the ballot. And then they also, and it's amazing how much this has been memory hold, they were found, the Biden administration was, by 4 federal judges, all 4 who ruled on this question. A federal district court judge in the first instance, and then 3 appellate judges.
Wait, hold on. You thought I was at work on Jan 6th? Yeah, no, I remember. No. I was at the house up there. I almost said it out loud. And I remember when it started, me and Dylan were watching on that big screen downstairs Trump's speech. And then they kept on cutting to the protest in front of the Capitol, and then cutting back to his speech, and then cutting to it, and like we could watch slowly how the violence ramped up. Huh? I was not streaming all day. No. Well, I mean, like, I think I started streaming at like 2:30, because Uncle Jim was like calling everyone, and we were talking about how bad everything was, and then I loaded up stream. I was like, well, I got streamed. Yeah, she is. I was like, I gotta stream this shit, and then I think I watched Ashley Babbitt get shot live on stream, and then it was like, oh well, this is getting really. What I was really worried about was just like, I was really prepared for them. I am still to this day, like, just astounded by how they didn't open up into that crowd and just start like firing. They shot one person. That's crazy. Yeah, he's good. Okay, we got about like 6-7 minutes, guys. All right. If you haven't followed or subscribed or anything like that, or do all the like, comment, and subscribe, whatever.
Judges who unanimously affirmed that ruling found that the Biden administration engaged in what they called one of the gravest assaults on the First Amendment's free speech guarantee in years, if not in the history of the judiciary, they said, by systematically weaponizing the CIA, the FBI, the CDC, and other federal agencies to coerce and threaten big tech to censor dissent from the internet. That was the story that Matt Taibbi and other journalists broke as part of the Twitter files, and you probably remember that most members of corporate media, upon seeing that story that they didn't break and couldn't break,
Greenwald, true.
turned around and said, oh, this story is nothing. It's a nothing burger. You should ignore it. Only for courts to then say that it was a grave assault on the First Amendment free speech, that they were trying to censor the free speech rights of American citizens. I know you probably don't remember that because it got so little attention in the media.
What did?
Turned around and censored dissent from the internet. That was the story that Matt Taibbi and other journalists broke as part of the Twitter files, and you probably remember that most members of corporate media, upon seeing that story that they didn't break and couldn't break, turned around and said, oh, this story is nothing. It's a nothing burger. You should ignore it.
It was.
Only for courts to then say that it was a grave assault on the First Amendment free speech, that they were trying to censor the free speech rights of American citizens. I know you probably don't remember that because it got so little attention in the media. And barely anyone talks about it anymore because it's a ruling against Joe Biden, and so the media wants to bury it. But for that same administration that got that ruling against them to then turn around and depict themselves as the savior of American democracy and be taken seriously by the media is...
Twitter files didn't do anything to Twitter, but you know what did? Elon Musk owning it. Like, that site is so... Like, if you thought, like, the brain worms and the, like, you know, extreme Swiss cheese that was... the brain of the average Twitter user was bad before, dude, like, there is actual, like, horrific, like, hateful shit that goes on Twitter now in a way that I haven't seen on a you know, mainstream social media site in years. Like, it's fucking crazy how much there is, dude. It's like actually insane.
Not really amazing any longer, but it is truly illustrative. Now, even CNN is being very clear about what the Biden strategy is. And again, this is their only choice. From January 2nd, how the Biden campaign hopes to make 2020...
Elon couldn't have saved Twitter because I got banned for giving someone gun safety advice, okay? But, you know, Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones and, you know, like 6 or 7, like, actual literal neo-Nazis get unbanned without even putting in a request. They get unbanned. I gave gun advice, all right, on how to stay safe. And then I told them to ignore it, okay? And I am permabanned. That's how you know Elon didn't save Twitter.
For less about Biden and more about a contrast with Trump. Quote, the 2024 campaign year for President Joe Biden's inner circle will largely be about carefully ratcheting up the intensity against Donald Trump, wary of voters becoming dulled to what they expect to be the former president's even wild...
I haven't done that because it feels... Yeah, I probably should. Just, my girlfriend was saying that I should put it in an appeal and say that I'm being persecuted for my views by liberals because it was lefties that I was arguing with. So...
rhetoric and promises about what he'll do back in power. Or,
yeah,
as some of the younger aides on Biden's re-election campaign have grimly joked, it's about when to go, quote, full Hitler, One leading Republican candidate's speeches and actions go so far that the Biden team goes all the way to a direct comparison to the Nazi leader rather than couching their attacks by saying Trump, quote, parroted him. Now, again, it's not only that this is the same administration that's trying to imprison their opponent, trying to bar him from the ballot, who is found also to have committed grave First Amendment violations, according to 2 federal courts, by censoring the dissent.
All right, sorry guys, we're not going to be able to finish this today. We will be back maybe tomorrow. Do we have anything planned tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow probably. Maybe what we need to do is we need to find some content, because today was a content slow day. There is like nothing to go over unless it's like, you know, Israel Palestine for the 450th fucking time. You know, you're leaving, I'm leaving forever. That's right. And I'm never coming back because of you, because you only just showed up. All right. It is unlikely, but is there anybody streaming right now that we can raid into? Let's see. Nope, it's only that Murkoff the Perk person, and that person, no. Not happening. Not at all. I was asleep? Huh. Serves you right, sleeping. That's some cuckold shit. All right. Love you guys. No one to raid into, so you guys are on your own. I will catch you guys tomorrow.